Start her up.
Hey guys, George here, back again with another train stream.
Welcome to Fast Friday.
That's right.
All right. Another week down, another Fast Friday here.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to GFW Trains Fast Friday. This is
I'm George. This is Wally, otherwise known as Waldozer Production.
and he's George, GFW Trains, and we've got a special guest in studio here. All right.
Yes.
Jack's in the house. Jack Phelan, a good friend of ours in the train world, lives right down the road from us. In fact, everybody who was on last week got a chance to see Jack's layout a little bit.
Yes, he's got an amazing post-war style layout. And he's got one of the coolest post-war collections I've ever seen. So yeah.
So we saw his layout last week. We got to get Jack in the studio. Well, welcome, Jack.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming in. This is great to have you here. The Worldwide Studios, GFW Trains Worldwide Studios.
It's great.
So we got a great show, right, George?
Yes, we got a
So-
great show for you today.
We've got
As
so-
always, start with the song.
So
Jim.
anyway, last week we had Jim Williams on from Dream Layouts, right?
Yes, correct.
And he was amazing, wasn't it, George?
Amazing. That's like an understatement.
Yeah. He brought out all kinds of slides from all of the layouts that he's building, and we didn't get a chance to get through it. So
Yeah, so consider this a part 2.
exactly. So but real quick before we get into talking to Jim and talking with Jack a little bit about his layout again, big news in the train industry this week. Big news, George.
So recently, as many of you might have heard, MTH has gone out of business. And
Not quite out of business yet, but they're kind of fading off into the sunset.
Yes, they've announced that they are going to stop continuing, or they're going to stop making O-scale trains, and so they've sold off all their major kind of products, including their big building in Maryland. And so recently, Atlas has acquired a lot of the tooling a lot of the modern tooling for the from MTH, and it's kind of taken everybody by surprise.
Right. No, it's a natural fit. So MTH fading off into the sunset, and they've got all of these different assets to their business, and one of them is their tooling. So I'm sure that they were looking for people to come in and buy the tooling. And so,
Atlas did it.
yep, Atlas came in and they bought a number of the different molds that MTH had. And they're going to be continue to produce trains with those molds. So not only that, but then the other thing which is really cool is,
So Atlas has got the tooling.
DCS.
Oh yeah, DCS. So then they've acquired the rights to use DCS in all their products, and that's kind of a big thing too, because I mean it kind of is a step forward in terms of MTH's command control system, because although they've kind of been the underdog for the longest time, I think this is kind of a step up for for MTH, kind of the DCS system, allowing other companies to use their
Right. Well, this is the first time that MTH has licensed out their operating system. So I think this is what they're going to do. I know that they want to keep that operating system proprietary, the DCS operating system, and they've leased it out to Atlas, which is kind of interesting because now Atlas has, or at least on its face, they have
the
both
rights
MTH,
for MTH
and they've been using
Lionel.
Lionel in the past. So they kind of got the best of both worlds there, Jack. I don't know what they're going to do going forward, but yeah, so that's really big news, and that's pretty cool.
Does this include Rail King?
So Rail King, actually, that's another hot topic. They just bought some of the Premier line tooling, just select tooling, and they did a video. Actually, Atlas, the official Atlas YouTube channel, did a video on what they bought. I think they came out with this, I think, yesterday or today. But Rail King has been bought by somebody else, and MTH has announced that in the next month they're going to release or announce who is going to get the Rail King tooling. And honestly,
okay.
That was supposed to be nice.
yes,
Yeah,
that's who I'm hoping it's gonna be. Because I mean, Menard's been talking about making an engine for a long time, and I thought it was just gonna be,
I think that's a good match right there. Menards has the distribution system through their hardware stores.
They have
Right?
probably one of, out of all the O scale manufacturers, they have the biggest platform to promote these their model trains on.
Right.
Just because, I mean, they're probably one of the biggest
They
stores.
already have a really good distribution network. And then something that when you were on
Save big money
at Menards for all of you that are into those Menards jingles that go on all the time here in the Midwest. But one of the things that they had said on Cross Anchors when you were on the stream the other day, I didn't think about, Menards also has a lot of connections in terms of shipping over there in China.
Oh.
All of their tools and all of the things that they already got. I mean, they've got a lot of connections and a lot of avenues already with a distribution network there in China. So it's probably going to be a really good match.
People say the Save Big Money jingle is the Midwest national anthem.
I like that. I like that, George. So, hey, here we are. GFW Trains Fast Friday. One of the things that we always like to do on Fast Friday is welcome everybody here. We've already welcomed Jack here. Thanks again for being with us, Jack. Great to have you. Got Jim Williams in the back room. He's going to be right with us. Dream Layouts. He's going to show us some other really, really cool layouts. But we always like to check people in who have come in to see us here at GFW Trains. George, we got whistles going today?
I had one whistle and then the engine came off the track. Even the cars came apart too, so I'm gonna have to go fix that.
We got a lot of stuff. Why don't you use the 1225 whistle? Not whistling.
Yeah.
Man, we spent 40 hours this week getting ready for the stream. 40 hours. And we can't even get a whistle. How about that one, Jack? We're gonna get Jack laughing just instead. All right, so we'll just check everybody in without the whistle. And George will be getting that whistle up and running here in just a second. So we got North Country Trains coming in. He's got a premiere. Speaking of premiere, right after the show here, we've hoping to go online with George's thoughts about MTH and Atlas coming together. So we uploaded it, but we had some hitches. So that's either going to happen after the stream here or tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for the next GFW Trains video that's coming right out around the corner. But North Country Trains has a really good YouTube channel there, and he just had a premiere that came out. So check out his new video. That should be a really good one. We got Chris Lambert in the house. Says, hi, George and Wally. Could you explain exactly what product tooling means during the show in relation to the MTH and Atlas sale? So, Chris, I'll talk about that right now, as a matter of fact. So when they're talking about Atlas buying the production tooling, it's interesting because MTH, Lionel, Atlas, none of these guys actually make their trains anymore. It is all made in China, and it's made or other offshore places. And it's when it's made in those offshore places, somebody else is contracted by those businesses, makes that stuff, puts it together, and ships it out to either Lionel or whomever, and they distribute it to all of us hobbyists. So when they're talking about tooling, and when they're talking about the molds and everything that it takes to make all of those trains, so Atlas is buying all of that stuff. So they're going to be essentially making the MTH stuff, the products that MTH was making with the same molds and the same all of the little other things that go on the engines, and then marketing it as Atlas. So that's what it means by product tooling. So
yeah, and so I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I know MTH was always their own thing for the longest time. They I think they kind of took pride in being different.
Right.
So and especially with the DCS, that was their thing, their baby, and it'll be interesting seeing other people use the DCS system. And honestly, I'm curious how far it will go, because if you were to ask me 6 months ago, I would have said DCS wouldn't last a year after they closed their doors. And shoot.
So yeah, it's good to see that. So next we got D. Klinger in the house. How you doing, Mr. Klinger? Our good friend Jim Williams, who's behind the scenes. He'll be out here in just a moment. Northern Illinois and Wisconsin rail fanner. He was the first to be in the house. Welcome. Our good friend over there in Ohio, Train Finder Craig. Welcome to the stream, Mr. Craig. Good to see you. Good to see you. Sean's Trains in the house. Welcome to the Fast Friday, Sean's Trains. Ravenhawk, sprained ankle tonight. Well, hey, at least if our show gets really bad, this is good news for us. Bad news for Ravenhawk. Good news for us, because if the show gets really bad, it's going to be really hard for him to get up to get the remote control to switch us off. So, yeah. So good news for us. But sorry to hear about your leg, Ravenhawk.
Yeah, that does suck.
Yeah. So let's see here. We got Grandpa in the house. He's down at Walt Disney World. Yep. Making hopefully absorbing all that sun down there. We got Grandma. She's probably right there, right next to Grandpa and Grandma. So Cat Nuts. Hopefully things are going there good. Where Cat Nuts was at the other night, he was in the area where there was all those storms.
Oh.
So Cat Nuts, hope they have no problems out there with you guys. Let's see, Aurora Shay's in the house. Hope that GFW Trains wear is working out for you there, Aurora. Thanks again for buying that. Right here, if you guys are interested in buying some of the GFW Trains merch, it's for sale. There's a link down below in the Teespring, so check that out. Got plenty of neat GFW Trains stuff if you're interested in it. Speaking of neat merch, here we are. Ours Trains was the guy who got us our first merch out there. Welcome.
Ours Trains.
We like that. Let's see, Steamhead's here. Welcome, Steamhead. Get that guy a whistle. Oh, he got a nice whistle there. So Catnut's ready to talk some Atlas. Oh, well, we got that in there for you. And look out for George's YouTube video that he's got coming out. Wisdom from GFW Trains. How about that one, huh?
Wisdom.
Look at that. He's laughing, man.
Yes.
Your reputation precedes yourself, George. So, PRR Joe is here. Welcome, PRR Joe. First time here. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I'd invite everybody, and I'd invite everybody in the whole
wide world
that's watching on the GFW Trains Worldwide Studios. Kick back, relax, grab yourself some iced tea. We forgot our iced tea. We forgot to get Jack some iced tea right before him. We're going to have to take an iced tea break. Oh, my gosh. Jack's out of here. What kind of hosts are we, huh?
Yeah, man.
So kick back, relax, grab some iced tea, and just hang out with us on Friday night. I'm sure you're going to have a good time. We've got some great guests here talking trains and enjoying each other's company, enjoying each other's hobby. If you enjoy our live stream so far, do me a favor. Go down below. Click that like button and smash that thumbs up for us. It does a lot for us getting out there on the with the algorithm and pumping the video out to people who haven't seen it or weren't able to catch it live tonight. So do that for us, and that would be great. That'd be great. Who else? All right. Yes, for sure. Who else we got rolling through the door here? We got our man Mike Bellin. Test. 1 2 1 2. Check it. Sibowitz. Slag Cat's in the house. How you doing, Slag Cat? Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad. Good to see you. We got Golden Leaf Railroad here in the house. Our good friend right down the road here in Yorkville, Art Williams. Thanks for coming by and checking out.
Hi, Art.
He knows, yeah, Art. So kick back, grab yourself some iced tea, and hang out, talk some trains with us. We got Devon McKenzie here. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome to Fast Friday. Isaiah Hawkins here in the house. Welcome, Isaiah. Alaska 3 Railroad with his blue and yellow Alaska engines. Gotta love those Alaska paint schemes there.
Oh, yes, sir.
George is having trouble with one of his passenger cars over here.
Yeah.
Chris Lambert says, good evening, Wally and George. Good evening, Chris. Henry Heather's in the house.
Henry Heather's.
Cat Nuts is liking on this shirt. This is my Christmas present from George. This is what I got right here. If there's one thing that I like, it's loud train shirts, Jack. I love my loud train shirts.
I'd like to know where you got it.
George?
I think we found it on Amazon. Pretty sure.
Amazon right there. I don't know if you ever heard of this thing. It's called Amazon. It's a new place where people buy stuff.
We just got electricity.
Right. one of them talky things, you know. You talk and you can hear somebody else talk. CSX GE ET44 AC in the house.
Come on.
Rail fan Oliver over here. Hook me up, George. Need some of that whistling. Let's see here. DB Tech's in his house. How you doing? Henry says, just call him Henry. Well, we got you, Henry. Welcome to the stream. Good to have everybody here, and I think we're caught up. Oh, we got one other person that we didn't get through the door here. Tim's Trains. Tim's been around since the beginning. Tim's Trains is the inspiration for GFW
Trains. Before this, all right. If you guys don't know, Tim's YouTube channel was TDF Lines, and when I was really little, I was super happy or excited to know that I was friends with a YouTuber, and his name was TDF Line. So when I started my YouTube channel, I was like, all right, I want to have something that's cool, that kind of goes along with TDF Lines. So I was like, all right, his TDF Lines was his initials, so GFW Trains, you know. GFW Trains was kind of the next best thing. So yeah.
Well, you know, that's really cool. And that brings me into my thing that I always like to talk about. I'll talk about it right now. Ready for this one there, North Country Trains? We have such a cool community here. And it's really been neat to see everything come together and kind of getting some really cool synergy from YouTube here. We've had this shut-in, the stay-at-home, where everybody's had to stay at home. And it seems like we've all hunkered down and we've all been doing train stuff. But as we've been doing this, it's kind of neat because we started making videos. Other people started making videos. We started doing these live streams and everybody started to come together. And it's neat because I think that we need to keep this synergy rolling. We got to keep this community going because we've got a really neat corner of YouTube and a really neat corner of our hobby that's here. And I want to make sure that we keep this going. So that said, please do me a favor, everybody. Go to every one of these channels of the people that are on here. Watch their videos. Check them out because there's some really cool YouTubers, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are definitely some really, really cool YouTubers. I mean,
and you know what? Say something because you never know when that little comment is going to make somebody feel really good about themselves or really good about their videos. And there's some really, really neat stuff there about the hobby, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Without Tim's Trains making videos and George knowing Tim, I don't think there would be a GFW Trains. So please, let's do that. Let's keep this synergy rolling. And the other thing that we've got this kind of neat, if you want to keep the conversation going after we get done with doing these videos, or you want to promote your video, we've got a Discord channel, right, George?
That is right.
Why don't you tell everybody what the Discord channel is all about?
So the Discord server is kind of an opportunity for everybody to connect, even when we're not doing live streams. So we have, I think, over 200 members at this point, and we basically talk about everything, but mostly trains.
You got it. That's great. Welcome, Lea River Subdivision. Good to see you here. And he says, model railroading community on YouTube is hands down the best groups I've ever been involved with or evolved with. Maybe he's evolved. So no, it's really cool. And I agree. It's been really neat. It's been really neat to see everybody come together. About a year ago today, as a matter of fact, I think it was March 14th was the first live stream that you and I did together, and we've been doing these live streams now for a year. And this is live stream number 107. Look at that! He's so happy about it, he can barely stay awake, Jack. So we're on live stream 107, and like I said, it's been really cool to see this community come together and everybody communicate, talk, watch each other's videos, see the neat layouts that everybody's got. So. Speaking of neat layouts, we have got Jim in the background here. And let's bring Jim in. He's been sitting in the background, and I'm sure that
He's been chuckling the whole time.
If we keep Jim in the background too long, he's going to start talking to himself. So let's bring this guy in here. Jim, let's see. Come on in, Jim. It just keeps telling me to remove him. We don't want to remove him. Oh,
there he is.
There he is. Well, we need us. Oh, no, there we are.
Did you see what he got in background?
Yep. I love it. Hold on. We got to get
talk.
That is unreal.
There we go. Hey! How you doing, Jim?
Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Very good, very good.
I think he time traveled back to 1942.
I did. I'm in the dome tonight. I'm doing a little relaxation, taking a little train trip out here. You know, it's kind of the way I relax. Is
Back when the world was black and white.
It's black and white, but Jim is coming to us in Technicolor. It's Technicolor.
It's if you can dream it, we can make it happen, right?
You got it. Dream
right.
layouts. Well, welcome to the stream, Jim. For those of you that didn't see, if for those of you that did not see last week's layout, let me reintroduce Jim. Jim, this is Jim Williams. Jim is the proprietor, the CEO, the #1 man in charge of Dream Layouts. And Jim is a man of all trades. He does a lot of different things, but one of the things that he loves to do, both as a hobby and something that he does from time to time to make a little bit of money, but not very much money, I'm sure if you asked him. But he likes to make people's layouts come true in terms of what they dream and what they want. And that's what he does. And he's made a lot of really, really neat layouts all over the country. And we were lucky enough to have him on last week, bring him back this week to share some of those. In fact, Jackie's helped you out a lot on your layout, hasn't he?
A lot.
So tell me a little bit about that, how it worked out with you guys. Now, you guys were friends before he helped you out with your layout, right?
But I don't know who's friends.
We got to act like it on the show. Act like it on the show, okay, Jack? All right.
He's great.
All right, there we go.
He usually says good things about me.
Right, so he's helped you out. How did he help you out with?
Oh, unreal. When you come up with the idea, I dream, that you talk to Jim, and it comes into becoming a reality.
Right.
It's not a dream anymore. My layout is all Jim's. It could be Jim's Railroad.
Nice. And it is a good one at that. We saw those pictures last week. So, Jim, welcome. I hope you got your iced tea there ready, or you're like hot tea. I hope you got your hot tea there ready to kick back, relax.
We're not allowed to.
Some high quality.
I don't have any attendants in the car with me tonight, so I just brought bottled water in with me tonight. So that's all.
They don't want to ruin the seats.
Yeah. They got to watch the upholstery on these seats here. So
Right.
You guys, I appreciate you inviting me back for the second week. It's a great honor to be on the show with you guys. I really appreciate it. As you said, I had a lot of layouts to show last week, and as you were right, Wally, I do know how to talk. I learned how to do that from somebody in my family. I don't know who it is. I think he's watching tonight, but we take credit back and forth for that. So I had originally put, I think, 12 layouts on here, and I ended up with an extra one last week. And last week we showed the overhead layout, and I added another one. So instead of having 6 tonight, we got 7. And it's not really that much more, but my father-in-law that got the overhead layout, I've got some pictures to show of that now, where that actually ended up down in St. Louis. So he's really excited to see that happen tonight. He wants to see the pictures online, so he's really happy about that.
Extra bonus. Nice.
Yeah, it's a bonus. So anytime we can get a bonus in there and show people what's going on with trains and what we can do with them, that's great. We talked last week as we had the next layout in line was going to be the basement of the funeral home. And
right.
So the thing was, I was talking to the owner of that layout, and he's invited you guys out whenever we can set it up. He's invited you guys out to take a look at it. So we just got to set a date, and we can go down there and we can do some playing around and videotape and whatever we want to do. And you guys can see the funeral or the cemetery with the backhoe digging the plot. So he knows that you're coming to see that. So we'll have to take some pictures and make sure everybody gets to see it. I think that was kind of like what everybody was wanting, and I don't have any pictures of it. So, but anyway, so we've got a lot of fun tonight. I've got, as you said, I've done layouts all over the country. I got the last layout to show tonight. Was built here in Chicago and went out to California. I've got a layout that's got more trains than I've ever seen in my life. He's got them everywhere. He won't be able to join us tonight, but he'll watch it later. So a lot of the owners of these layouts that we're going to show tonight are actually online watching. So they're real excited to see what's going on here tonight.
Very good, very good. And I believe that dome car in the background, that's a little bit of teaser for something that we might have you on in the future for, huh?
Yeah,
We're talking layouts tonight, but not only is Jim into trains, model trains, and making layouts and dreams come true in model trains, you're also doing a lot of stuff with actual regular railroads and rail cars. You got a little bit of a background in that.
Yeah, I started. I met a guy about 8 years ago at our local train show. I wanted to take a rail excursion, as we call it, go out on a tour, a one-day round-trip tour on a passenger car that's pulled behind Amtrak, and it ended up always things go wrong with the railroad. There's always glitches. There's always problems the railroads throw at you. You got to be prepared. Well, this guy that I was going to take this tour with, he got hurt, and he knew me well enough at that time and thought I could handle it. He called me up and asked me to run the tour the second day. So I was the guy with the microphone running the tour on the train car. So long story short, it ends up I get to know this guy better, and I start working with him on these train cars and these rail excursions where we take and sell tickets for people to ride on private rail cars, and ended up being the chef on the train for a while. I used to take and prepare all the meals for all the 60 passengers on these train cars. And then I got into because of where my background is in the construction and electrical business, I started doing the restoration of his rail car. So if we get to it and we have an opportunity, there's some exciting news coming down the road for the car we're working on, but I am not at liberty to take and divulge any information yet. But it's super news. It gets me totally excited. It's going to be the survival of the rail car we're working on. And I will tell you, the rail car I'm talking about is a car that was built for the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy for the Phase 3 Twin Cities Zephyr train sets that used to go from Chicago to Minneapolis twice a day. There was a morning and an afternoon train. The car that we have is the Dome Observation Parlor car. There was 2 of them built. We have a sister car with it. It's still surviving somewhere down south. It's called our car is called the Silver View, number 360, and the Silver Vista is its sister car, which is 361. Silver View is originally built, of course, like I said, for the Burlington, and it is in really good shape. It's being stored right now up in Charles City, Iowa. I used to travel up there quite a bit during the year, 3-4 times a year, to take and work on the car. So if we ever get to the point where I can actually open that up and we get an opportunity, we'll do a show maybe on all the things we've done, where that car came from, how it transitioned through Amtrak ownership and private car ownership and where it is today and where we hope it goes in the future. So if we get an opportunity, I got a lot of stuff to show.
Well, that sounds awesome. That's really cool there. So let's segue that into that funeral layout. I know that we wet everybody's whistle with a couple of pictures last week with that layout out there in Chicago, and we can't wait to get out there and take some footage of that so we can make another GFW Trains video.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see it. I've seen one picture of the layout, and that was here and on Jim's phone. So I'm definitely curious to see what just the layout in general, you know.
Right.
All right. So at least I'm getting better at running this week, Wally. So I've got it. So you've got it on the screen now, right?
Right on.
All right. So this is where we left off last week. And I don't know how many of these. What I'll do when you see these white title slides, I will give you as much information as I can as far as where you can see other things about the layout, whether I have a video or it's out there somewhere or it's in a magazine article or those kind of things. So you guys can take and expand on it. So anyway, let's get started. So this is
there's Jack.
There's Jack. He's on his knees working. So this was a layout that I got a call about, I think 6 years ago. He met me at the train show, and somebody said, there's a guy looking for you. And he says he wants to talk to you really bad. And so I said, okay. So it ended up, he comes over to the table where I was running the rail excursion business and wanted to know when I could come work on his layout. And I'm like, what do you need done? He says, I need it wired and I need it fixed so it works right. And they said, you're the guy that's supposed to be able to do that. And I says, yeah. So it ends up, I go down and I take a look at it, and it was originally built by Don Cardiff. Don Cardiff was a premier layout builder in the Chicagoland area, and actually I think he was in Wisconsin at one time. or he might be now. I'm not sure, but I don't know what the status of Don Cardiff is now. But he has built a lot of layouts. A couple of layouts you're going to see. Well, at least one more layout coming up you're going to see was built by Don Cardiff tonight. So anyway, this guy Don Cardiff built conventionally controlled and wired layouts. So when the command control era came in with all these command control engines, a lot of these guys couldn't run their engines on these layouts. So I got the call because this is what I do, wiring and making DCS and TMCC and legacy work on these layouts. I got the call from this guy and he said, come on down. I need you to make this work. So we got down there. We started looking it over. And as you can see, he's got trains stored underneath there. It's kind of a mess right now because this is when we first started working on this. You can see my friend Jack there. He's my helper or my boss usually when I'm working under the layout. You can see he's got the power supplies built on shelves there. We got a couple Z4000, some power bricks and things like that. But what happened with this layout is, I don't know if I told you this last week, we had a real bad spot in the back corner of the layout. And let's see, you're seeing a picture and I'm seeing a picture. There we go. Let's catch it up. Okay.
So Jim, as you're flipping through the pictures, someone said they just tuned in and the show's already going to the funeral home. In Alaska 3 Railroad says all this funeral home talk is killing me. Let's dig up those pictures.
Yeah, let's dig up the pictures. I know that's what I get for opening my big mouth and I don't have a picture to show for it. So anyway, when I got in there and I started looking at, this is like typical of most layouts when you walk into it and you see it. Nobody really cares what the underneath looks like. So I get down there and I see this big nest of wires that I've got to take and figure out. So it took us a while. I think it took us about 3-4 weeks to take and get through all the wiring, get it all figured out and figure out what we had to do. But basically I rewired all the tracks and all the switches, and we went through the whole layout with a fine-tooth comb to make sure everything worked. But and then here you can see some of the original control panels that were built for the layout. They were built on plexiglass, painted black. Those have been replaced. We built one big control panel and put it on a drawer slide so it pulls in and out because there's not a lot of walking room to get around the layout. So that made it convenient. Let's see here. And so there's me. There's me. Somebody says, here, Jim, smile, take a picture of you. So I look my head up when I'm working. And
it's a great smile.
Yeah. Usually I've got a million things going through my head when I'm doing this. I'm trying to figure all these things out and somebody's taking pictures. So, but what I was saying earlier is this layout in the right behind my left shoulder, all the way in the back corner back there, the layout when I first walked into this, the condition of that back corner was all rotted. The track was rusty. And I asked the owner, I says, what's going on here? I says, obviously we can't run trains on this section because it's all rotted and it's all the plywood is warped. The 2x4s are discolored. What happened here? And he said, well, the morgue is directly upstairs right above it. And we had a leak up there. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I says, well, we're going to have to probably cut all that out and replace it. And he says, great. I says, is the leak fixed? And he says, yeah, we got the leak fixed. Okay, good. I didn't ask him what was leaking. I just wanted to make sure we got it all out of there. So that was all rebuilt in the back corner. So what we did is we got the whole thing running. And then once we got the whole layout up and running.
It was leaking in the dead center of the layout.
Yeah, it's actually, if you're looking at me, that's a picture of me back when I had a mustache and a beard there. Back behind me, behind where all those pipes are, is where the leak was. And as you can see, I'm not a little guy, and it was kind of tight to get in there. I was kind of wedged in there pretty good. But when we got the whole layout back working and running, and all the lower level and was running and operating right, then he wanted to add a second level on there because he had originally had an elevated CTA line. Now he's in the south side of Chicago. Anybody that's been in Chicago their entire life has got to have a train. It's got to have the CTA on it, and it fits his scenery because the scenery on his layout is Michigan Avenue, and I believe where I'm used that air nailer there, where the CTA tracks is there, that is the end of what we call Michigan Avenue. And if you go all the way down to that street on the other end of the layout, we have the Conrad Hotel. He had a model of the Conrad Hotel built for this thing. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And I'll show you pictures as we get through this. So he wanted us to add a second line with a CTA line. So I came up with the track plan and a proposal for putting a 2-track double loop elevated CTA line on there. We were going to use, we proposed out using Bridge Boss, Jim Robinson out of Bridge Boss. He's out up in upstate New York. He does all the laser cutting and design work for all the uprights and the piers. And you can see here how it lays out. That's all painted brown, but it's all 1/8" hardwood. It's what we call masonite, but it's tempered hardboard. And he cuts that on a laser, and you know, it just goes together. You got to glue all those pieces together, but it really is easy to build. What was special about this project is some of these lines these piers were really tall. We had to go from 2 different levels, and he didn't have anything that tall, so we had to design some special height piers for us, which is now available on his website. So we have fun with the cameras. We got a crane over there, a B&S crane, sitting on top of a building, bringing some beams in for us. So we always like to have a little fun with the camera. But there you can see how we had to take and support the thing right there in front of me. We had to use some piers for the lower line to get to the piers on the second line so we could support all this. And then we had the special feet, and we used the pneumatic nailers to nail it all down. And it's pretty sturdy stuff once you get it all down there, and then you put the track on it, and it just runs like a dreamboat. This is a picture looking down towards the back corner where I was telling you where we had to repair that corner. That guy in front of you there, I believe he's on tonight. I saw him come in. That's Mike Mellon. He's the carpenter that helped me with this job. He helped engineer it and design it and helped me install it. He did all the painting, and in pre-install, he assembled a lot of it ahead of time and brought it in. And he's a little bit smaller than I am, so I let him climb around the bench and put it in. So there's a picture of Mike. He turned around and looked at us. There he is. That whole section that's sitting back there where that level is, that's all brand new bench work back there.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's cool. Well, that Bridge Boss is pretty neat product. You were showing that a little bit, and we're considering putting it in here on our track. I think that might be a part of the GFW Trains Worldwide Studios as we start getting this second level together. That was one of the things that we've got under consideration of trying to put it in and making the second level look nice. And I think it'll be a good addition to the Worldwide Studio here.
Yeah, Jim makes a good product. I've seen it around a lot of places. Actually, we talked about Rich Batista and Black Diamond Railway. He used that in his layout for his CTA, his New York, not his CTA, but his Chicago Transit scene, his elevated tracks there. And it looked, he painted it green because he wanted to model New York, but it came out fabulous. But at any rate, so this double track right now, as you see going around here, underneath is his freight yard that he has, and then that building that you can barely see on the left side of the picture there is an Illinois Central. It's a replica of the Illinois Central train station that used to be in downtown Chicago.
Oh.
This guy, his name is Howard Brookins. Howard Brookins is a big-time Illinois Central fan. So there's another good picture of Mike. He's got the strings out, and we had lasers going and all kinds of glue and tools and you name it. You got to get that stuff so it, as you guys know, building a second level on your layout, you got to get everything so it's just right. And you got to remember when you put this in, you got to be able to negotiate trains still below it, and that includes the overhangs and the curves. So when you got trains going through, you don't want any of your trains hitting those piers. So as you can imagine, it's quite a puzzle, quite a challenge to design that stuff over an existing layout to try and get everything to fit and work right with the trains on top, and then plus the trains that go underneath. I have another layout. The last layout I'll show tonight has some more of that same stuff that I built on this modular layout that went out to California. So there's the track. We got the track down on it. You can see where the two trains lines converge, and then they split off over there by the Conrad Hotel, the red building ahead of you. And you can see a basket bridge on the. Pardon me?
Who makes the buildings there that are featured on the layout?
Those were all custom built. Well, some of the buildings you're going to see are MTH buildings. I'm not sure who made the building on the right there. That was moved off. That was from the top. We had to move that off, so that's just sitting there right now. But that Conrad Hotel and a lot of the main buildings you're going to see on the upper level were built by a guy in Florida, I believe. He had some guy custom build them in Florida, and they had to ship them up here specially so they could go on the layout. This Conrad Hotel basically he's got a ceiling in there and it's concrete, and it barely fits. I think they had to take a part of the top of the Conrad Hotel off just to get it into the layout. That's how big it was. So, and the ceiling's not a short ceiling. It's got to be at least 9 feet, if not more. So anyway, this next picture this is my wife. I get everybody involved in helping me with train layouts. She was helping us put everything back together, and so she was up there putting in one of the fire stations and helping us get everything put in and get the wire stuff down through, because a lot of us had to work underneath the layout. So that's the rare picture I wanted to throw in there of my wife. She said, make sure you include me in there. So I did.
All right. Very cool.
So why is my picture's not moving here? There we go. So there's the picture of the Conrad Hotel. You can see how close it is to the ceiling there.
So the ceiling's pretty low. Is it 6 feet deep?
No, the ceiling is
That's a little funeral pun there, Jim.
Yeah,
Slowing
right.
you down a little bit.
Okay, you got me on that one. Well, now, just so you guys know, this is as close as I get to the cemetery. If you look at the bottom or the right side of the picture where that train station or that stop is right here, that platform, just to the right of that on the lower level is where the funeral or the cemetery is. And I don't even know if he had it finished back then. This is before he had a lot done on the layout. We were rebuilding the whole thing and fixing everything. And as you can see right there in the middle of that picture, on the left side of that track on the inside, it's just the base there. That's where that other building would go. So there's other buildings that go in there. So when I show you some more of these pictures, you'll see these CTA trains, and they'll come in and they navigate through all these big, tall buildings in Chicago. And where that CTA train is sitting there, there's a double crossover there. So either train can go on either loop. So it's really neat how it works.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So, and you might have said this earlier. What's the approximate dimensions of this layout, Jim?
Oh boy, you got me on that one here. I'm going to take a wild guess. I'm going to say that is probably 20 foot by 30 foot is going to be my guess. And it's basically a big rectangular layout. But if I can, that first picture where Jack was standing, the trains that were on the wall below that, right above that, there's a shelf there that's got storage tracks, and in the back end of the layout, there's a switch that takes all the trains down and goes along the wall to store all the trains. So he can store his passenger trains right behind where he stands at the control panel. So he's got a way now to take and store all of his passenger trains down behind him, and then turn off the power so they stay quiet. So there's another picture. You can see this is the Conrad Hotel, just barely on the left side of the picture. You can see Michigan Avenue down there. He's got all the fancy old lights. He's got buses, taxi cabs, police cars, all kinds of stuff. And then right below us, I'm standing where I'm taking this picture. The cemetery is right below us. So, but I don't have any pictures of it. That's the problem. So there's a close-up of the crossover. That's the CTA train sitting on the crossover.
Oh wow! So it looks like they're using like a mixture of Ross and Gargrave's track. Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's all Gargrave's track and Ross switches. That's what Don Cardiff used mostly on all of his layouts.
That's really cool. So how did you guys determine the heights for the CTA system?
Well, we wanted to go as high as we possibly could to get over different areas, but we didn't want to go too low because we had a second level where you can see where the Conrad Hotel is sitting there. We wanted it to make it look like an elevated line. If we would have put a regular height elevated line on, the trains would have been running at the level of that second deck, and so it wouldn't look very good. So we had to make it super high. So we made them basically double height in order to get it so it would navigate around the building, so it would give it that feel like an elevated line around the whole layout.
So in Chicago, there's just a little bit of subway, but most of the interurban trains that run around, or for lack of a better way, interurban trains that run around Chicago, they're all elevated like that, right?
Yeah, down in the loop in the city of Chicago, all the trains are elevated. And then there are trains that once they leave the loop, they go down on the ground, and then some of them will go underground. We have a train, I think, and I'm not real familiar with the CTA lines. I'm sure there's other experts out there. I haven't but ridden the train once actually, or twice. I think I took the South Line. I think it's the Yellow Line down to a White Sox game one time, and we got on a train in the underground in the city of Chicago and went south underground, and then came up above once we left the loop. And then I also took a train out to O'Hare one time from the city, and I believe that goes underground until it gets outside the west side of Chicago, and then it comes up on the ground level and runs between the Kennedy. It goes out to O'Hare. So this here is the double crossover. This was a challenge. Oops, what happened here? This was a challenge for us because I have 4 switch machines up there, and they're super high elevated up there on those piers. So we had to get them below and get the wiring done. And so I needed something longer than a regular drinking straw. Well, the owner, Howard, knew somebody that manufactured the straws for McDonald's. And he says, don't worry, Jim, I can get you some uncut straws. I'm like, great. So he brought me these straws that were like, I think 2 or 3 foot long. And I used those to take and use like conduits to run down the wires to get underneath the bench. So, and we just painted them brown so everything matched. And that worked out really well. So I use that a lot now. I use small coffee stirs or drinking straws to take and run conduits as a conduit to run my wires down below the bench work. And then I paint it to match. So there's a picture. There's a picture to Conrad.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I believe, I'm not sure, but when we turn the lights off, all those buildings are lit. All the street lights work. He's got a loop underneath the layout there, as you can see where the gravel is. He's got, we didn't really do much of that. We fixed it and we made all the switches work, but that's basically a figure 8 underneath the city, the elevated city section. And he can run command control down there. So he's got, I think he can run 1, 2, 3, 4. He can run 4 or 5 trains at one time.
Wow, wow. So what's the minimum curve he has on his layout?
Okay, so this is where my old brain starts thinking hard. I know the outside loop is, I want to say it's either 072 or 080. It's 80 or 81, I think, and then it's 072 on the inside curve. But I think that's 072 on the outside on his main line and 063 on the inside. He can run long 21-inch passenger cars on the outside, and we made it so the spacing was right so he could run all that. So he can run passenger trains on the outer, and on the inside he can run freight trains. So, and then he's got a way to cross everything over. There's a picture looking down Michigan Avenue. You can see what he calls Michigan Avenue with the hotel there, and he's got traffic lights that work and all kinds of neat stuff. Now, don't, like I say, this is not finished. These are kind of rough pictures. He's got this a lot more detailed and a lot more finished now. So there is the final picture of the hotels put back in place and the buildings. But there is so much operating accessories. He's got, as you can see, the top of there's the Mel's Diner right there in front. He's got the Ford dealership with the rotating turntables inside. He's got 2 fire stations. If you look, there's a fire station sitting right there on the left side of that picture. And it was a lot of fun. And we got the 2 fire stations in. I told him, I think yours is the only layout where I've seen 2 operating fire stations. And he was really excited about that. And Howard Brookins is a former state senator from the state of Illinois. Back in the 90s, he served on the state government. And so he knows a few people. And he's also a business owner on the south side of Chicago. And so he knew some firemen, and he knew the precincts there in the south side of Chicago where he's at. So we had a chief or an assistant chief come over, and we did a little fun little session that we ran some trains and operated the fire stations. And I think he got a junior fireman's badge or something that day. And
nice.
Some of our friends were over there. My dad was there that day, and I think one of the layouts we're going to talk about, Stan Ludwikowski, was there that day. And I got a video of it somewhere around here, but it was a lot of fun that day. Just having a real fire chief come over and look at your train layout while you operated a fire station, you know. So makes everybody a little kid again.
That's really cool.
That's the last picture of that.
So I noticed that on his roads, it kind of looked like cork. What did he use for his roads?
The roads, I believe he used felt paper or shingles. So it looks like. And I'm not sure, it's an older product. I don't know if they still make it, but they come with, it looks like a felt product like you put on your roof, but it's smooth and it's got lines painted on it. And that's what he put down for that.
That's really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, it turned out really nice. We were trying to get him to get all this finished up, and get, you can see the edge of the plywood on the second level there. It's still unfinished. We got some spots, and we were trying to, there's a lot of things with guys that, have a real life, that not just trains, but we've got other things going on in the world. And Howard's a busy man. And so he was trying to get it all set up, and we just didn't get the connection, or we were trying to get him on a videotape. We wanted TM Videos to go down and videotape this. And so we haven't given that hope up, but he just has fun running it. We have since we've finished all that, I went back and I've hooked up Wi-Fi modules, the DCS MTH Wi-Fi modules, and he was one of the first ones where I put multiple Wi-Fi units on his layout, and I called him the test subject for this because it was the first time we'd done multiple units, and it worked out great. He runs his layouts and all of his trains with a tablet and a smartphone. When you go down to see Howard in his basement, you can take your smartphone out and you can run trains with him. It's a lot of fun. So
Well, that's really cool.
okay, so this next layout, as I said when we started, this is what happened to the overhead layout that you guys saw last week. And like I say, I took all that stuff down and I saved it. The owner didn't want it anymore. He wasn't going to use it anymore, and we didn't want to see it go to waste because it's not manufactured anymore. So I held on to it, and within about 6 months later, I was down at my father-in-law's house in St. Louis, and I was telling him about it. And he's always had me on the hunt for a train layout. If you see anybody that's got a train layout for sale, Jim, that you think I might be interested in, let me know, because he has a nice basement, and he wanted to take and run trains because my brother-in-law, Larry, his son is into trains too. So when I married my wife 5 years ago, I got told that I married into the right family because they were into trains, and so that was a match made in heaven, I guess, or a match made in the rail yard. So at any rate, I talked to him and I told him that we could use this overhead system on his in his house if he wanted to, and he says, "Well, why don't we put it up and in the front room?" And I'm like, I was kind of shocked, but I'm like, well, okay, let's do it. I mean, I'm all for it. Me, if you want to hang trains, you want to do trains, I'm all for getting trains going. And so he thought, well, this might be good. And the original idea was we were going to originally put it in his wife's bedroom because she is disabled and she can't move around without a wheelchair. And so she has a special hospital bed in her room. And so for her to have something to do, we thought, well, we'll put this loop of trains up in the bedroom and let her play trains in there. Her family, her father used to work for the railroad, so there's a little railroad history there. So we started thinking about this and said, well, why don't we put it up in the front room first, and then if we want to, we can expand later. Because I'm always full of ideas. I can give you lots of ideas if you want. So I said, well, if you put it up in the front room, then we can loop it down the hallway and we can run it into the bedroom sometime, and you can run back and forth trains from one room to the other. So he has enough of this overhead suspension system to be able to hang it throughout his whole house. And I keep finding more in my shop. So what he wanted to do is I said, well, what kind of train do you want? And I says, you tell me the kind of train you want and I'll find it. He said, well, I want a steam engine and I want probably a Southern Pacific Daylight. So as you can see, we found the steam engine. I found that at Berwyn Hobbies in Chicago. And the passenger cars, I don't remember where we found those, but we got the passenger cars about a couple months later, so we got a complete set. So we have an actual train running up there. It looks really neat. Now, in this picture here, you guys can see, and I'll show you another picture, but you can see the Wi-Fi module up there with the lights on it. That it's going to go away when we model some building fronts over that. But here's a picture. You can see the train coming around the corner. Right below there is the doorway that goes into the dining room and then into the hallway. And then it goes to the left and goes to the back bedroom. But this is a picture of where we transitioned the suspension system onto a shelf. He wanted to save as much of the suspension system as possible and use it where he might need it, where he couldn't hang a shelf. So we used a shelf that we put up on the wall. We used carpet padding underneath the track, and then we transitioned the track right from the suspension system right onto the shelf. And so there is the other side of the room. To your right there is the TV, and then just to the right side of the TV is the front door. he had an extra shelf he put up on the wall. He gets to store all these train boxes and everything up on that shelf there. So as you can see, you know, that's the same stuff we had in that other basement in Chicago. We took all that down. We saved all the parts. And over there, right above the TV, you can see the track gets wider. We have a passing siding over the front door. You can also use that for a storage track to store the trains. There's the 2 tracks over the front door. You can see the front door there. And he's got another steam engine up there. I don't know if that's my brother-in-law's or not, but he's running multiple trains up there now.
Oh, wow.
And so there is what we did with the controls. Obviously, when you build a shelf layout, you got a lot of space in the back corner all the way to the right corner in there. So we've got a 180-watt power brick up there. We have a Z500 MTH transformer. We have a AIU and we have a TIU, and we have a couple power supplies. We have a Wi-Fi unit up there, and we have a power strip up there. And I've got it all glommed into a big pile, an organized mess, but the trains can get by there real easy. And we're going to hopefully in the future find some kind of building fronts we can put on front of that, so it looks like, you know, you're going past a little town there. He has since put in another outlet on the wall there, so we can turn the train off and on with a switch on the wall there. That door right there, that door goes out to his garage, so his garage is on the other side of this wall. There's a picture looking over by the front door that shows you the 2 tracks that go by where he's got the passing siding. And it kind of gives you a little idea now. If you look at those supports, those brown supports, we cut 1/8-inch hardboard and we put it in the slots so we could take and screw the track down to those that suspension system. So there's one of the pieces. That's what the actual sections look like. And you can see that little section, that aluminum that comes up to that little flat end. Those are ball joints, and they just come apart. And you put a toggle bolt in the ceiling, and then you put the ball joint and screw it back on there, and they swivel any direction you want them to go. And then that's a close-up of one of the pieces and how it snaps together.
George sees that every night when he goes to bed.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well, he's a lucky guy, because I tell you what, that's neat stuff. It's really cool. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what happened with the suspension layout. That went to St. Louis. So, okay, so this next layout, you guys know this next layout because you had I think you guys did a video of this not too far back.
Yep.
This was Stan Ledwakowski's layout. It's in the 3rd floor attic of his house.
So just to give everybody a little bit of a reference, we all live probably within a 20-mile radius of each other here. Jim, Jack, myself, the gentleman that's got this layout, Stan, Art Williams, another gentleman that's watching right now. We've got a lot of really neat layouts right around here. And about a year ago, well, actually, we've known Stan for a while, but about a year ago, we were able to go in and do some filming, and we made a GFW Trains video, didn't we, George?
Oh yeah, I've been to Stan's layout a couple of times. Every time we go there, it's different.
Yep.
And,
Yeah, I think that's one of George's all-time favorite layouts over there.
Oh yeah, it's got to be. It's got like 74 switches, I think you said, and it's kind of a mixture of an operating layout and a switching layout, which is really or not an operating, like a running layout where you're running in loops. But then he also has that option of being able to switch, and he's got lots of industries on his layout, which is I find really cool.
Yeah, very cool. And you made the video, or we made the video on it. So if you want to see more, check out the GFW Trains Stan Ledwakowski layout, or you can see it on TM Videos. I think there was a
yes,
TM video?
this layout is actually on TM Videos. It's on 21st Century Great Layouts #1.
And it was just featured in Classic Toy Trains.
And it was a cover story feature article in Classic Toy Trains September of 2020 of last year. It's the one that has the Burlington train on the front of it. That's how I remember it, because he's got the Burlington diesel passenger train on the cover, and I love that. So, no, Stan started out, we met Stan through somebody we knew at Atlas. We had an acquaintance at Atlas Model Railroad Company that was 3-rail guy, and he's the same guy that builds the layouts for Atlas and did all the wiring and the signals for them. And so he was coming into town, and he was going to see my dad, and he was going to see another guy, and we didn't know who this other guy was, but it happened to be Stan Ledwakowski. So that's how we got to know each other. So
That's funny. I got to tell you about how I got to know him. So I met Stan and his wife when they wanted to put a landfill in the town where we live, and I met them, and we were part of a group that was civic activists that fought against this landfill. We became good friends. We became good friends as we were going to all of these meetings together and everything like that. And then one day I was at a train show. I turned the corner. I look down. Stan looks up. I look up. I was like, wait a second.
I know
You're
you.
in trains. I know you.
I know you.
And it was wild. We knew each other for probably about a year and a half, 2 years before we even knew each other. That the other guy was into trains.
Yep. There's a lot of us train guys walking around. We don't know each other sometimes, you know?
Right.
So anyway, when Stan started building his layout, when I first saw Stan's layout, he was working on the main section, what I call the 1950s Chicago era part of his layout. He was working on buildings. He was working on super streets. He didn't have a complete design at the time. He had evolved quite a bit over the years. He come up with some great ideas to basically expand his layout throughout the entire floor of his attic. His attic is an attic space, but it's got regular stairs that go up to it, like in your third floor of your house. And the attic room is finished off. And it's really nice up there, unless you're up there in the middle of the summertime when it's super hot out, or in the wintertime when it's super cold. But it's not too bad. I mean, it's a nice space up there. It's a nice place to have trains. And as long as you can climb 2 sets of stairs, you can get up there and see it.
Yeah. And I'll defer to Jack and George. This is a really cool spot to run trains, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Stan's layout, it's just got a lot of different. It's the opportunities the operating opportunities you have on Stan's layout are like really cool. He's got a really big yard on one end of it, and then he's got the Chicago area, lots of industries, and then he's got It's just really cool layout.
Right. Have you ever been over to one of his days when he does the operating sessions?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's good times I hear, huh?
Yes.
So
you get a card, and on that card it'll tell you have to pick up a card at a certain location and deliver that card to another location.
so he's actually got switch yards there on the layout, right?
Yes.
Oh,
It is very cool.
that's why George and I have been angling for an invite over there, and he says, "Well, next time I do it, we'll have you over for sure."
Next time we do, we're gonna have you over, and then COVID happened.
COVID happened, so
No, that's true. That's true.
Yep.
so yeah, we're hoping it's a fun operating layout. That's for sure.
Well, it sounds like you guys are building up those invites. We got you an invite to Chicago, and I'm going to try and get you an invite to the guy in Wheaton, which we're going to see here shortly. Great big layout I did there. But Stan's layout, I didn't really do a lot on Stan's layout. I helped him with a little bit of the initial wiring for DCS and TMCC, but Stan did most all the work himself. He had contacted me after he got this section we're looking at done, and he wanted a control panel built. And so I built him a large control panel for this section here, and I built a small control panel for him. And then I think he just started designing his own control panels at that point as he expanded his layout. But the neat part about Stan's layout is you can see this town section in the middle. And you can see there's a lot of cars there, and there's what we call super streets. Well, he put in a multiple track super street system throughout all of his town buildings there. And he's got cars that operate throughout the middle of that town area there. And you can see some of the cars lined up on the track. And if you look down there in the middle of the town, he's got old style traffic lights. And he contacted me and says, "Jim, I got a small problem. I need to find out if there's a way we can take and, stop the cars so they don't run into each other at the crossing." And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. I think we can do that, Stan." So here's an overhead view of it. So you can see how the cars come in. So you got two-way traffic both ways going through the crossing. And so he had these, I think these were model power traffic signals that you can see down there, the little freestanding ones that they're not the modern ones. And they got the don't walk sign sticking out the side. And so what I did is I took those apart, I drilled them out, I put LEDs in them, And I got it so that there was operating LEDs, so we had operating traffic lights, and I put the controllers underneath to run the traffic lights. And then when the traffic light would turn red, or we just had red and green on these, I think. And when they would turn red, there was a stop section on each of the tracks going into the intersection on that super streets, and it would shut off the power to the cars. And so if the traffic light turned red, the car would stop, and the opposing traffic going the other way would be green, and the traffic would go through there. I don't know if my father has a video of it on his YouTube channel. It's just mesmerizing to watch this thing happen. But if you look at the TM videos, 21st Century Great Train Layouts #1, it'll be in there. You'll see the trains or the cars running on the super streets, and you'll see a big crash in the video. It's kind of cute. But anyway, that's an overhead picture of just the 1950 Chicago. He's got this so detailed. I mean, he's actually got street signs on the poles, which actually correspond to the neighborhoods where he grew up in downtown or in the Chicago on the south side. There is where he met his wife. So it's really interesting. He's actually, when the kids come in, they've got sheets where you can go find all the little details. I mean, there's people that got their clothes strung out between buildings, in the backyards, and there's balconies, and I mean, there's just so much detail. And he's got his grandkids' names in there with different businesses. I mean, it's just a really fun, fascinating layout, and he runs everything on there. He's got really big curves. He uses mostly Atlas track, and he's got a big passenger terminal now, and he's got a big freight yard over on the other side. He can really do some neat train operation over there now. He's got sidings and businesses and industries. So as you guys were saying with Jack, when they have an operating session over there, he'll give you assignments, and you'll have engineer conductor assignments, and you guys will work as 2-man teams, and you'll get your train through traffic throughout the whole layout and drop these cars and pick them up different places. And it's really fun having an operating session on these big layouts. So that's all I have for Stan's layout. So now this layout that I'm showing you next, this layout was featured in a TM video also before I knew this guy. It was featured in World Class High Rail Layouts #4. And he was on the last video they did of that with #4. This guy is, I got to say, this layout is this is one of the last big layouts that I worked. Well, it was the last big layout that I worked on about five years ago. It took me over a year to rewire this layout.
Wow.
But anyway, this layout has, I think right now it has about 10 miles of wire on it currently. And this was a Don Cardiff layout. The Don Cardiff built this layout when this guy built this house. This is in a 3,000 square foot basement. There is pretty much everything you can think of on this layout. You can see
trains as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, he's got trains everywhere. I think he advertised on the video, he has over 1,500 engines, and I know he's got a lot more than that by now because that was quite a while ago. But he stopped counting how many cars he has because he has so many cars. But he has a spreadsheet that I think is about 3/4 of an inch thick, double-sided, that shows his inventory on trains. But anyway, he contacted me, like I told you, with the funeral home layout. He could only run conventional. He wanted to run command control engines and conventional. And he said, "Can you wire my layout to do that?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I took out a lot of wire and replaced it so it worked with command control. But you can see this here is his yard. His yard is S-curve. It kind of turns to the right and then the left. Now, the thing about this is you don't just see trains on the wall. You see trains on the skirting of the layout. You cannot see under his layout. His layout has walls built underneath it, and he's got shelves on the inside and outside. So when I'm climbing around under his layout on the inside, I'm seeing train shelves on the inside of underneath his layout also. But this layout has a 3-track main line. The main line is 167 foot long. He has an upper log line that's separate from all the rest, but it's interchangeable. There's no place on the layout that you can't get to from one track to the other. There's also a lower area, which we call the intermodal area. It's over there on the left under the bridges. But he has, you can see the 3-track main lines there. But he's got all kinds of operating accessories. You can see the trains all over the place. There's just trains. You can't see wall anywhere. It's all trains. But anyway, it took me a little over a year to rewire this entire layout. It took me forever because all the wire was red and it was number 12 stranded wire. I had to go through and I had to trace every single wire and every single drop on the track. And then I had to put the proper insulation in so DCS would work. There's the long wall with the passenger trains. Now, if you see his video, you'll see a lot more trains because on the other side of that wall to the left, he's got a family room. And then where I'm standing behind me, there's a workout room that he's got trains on the wall in there too. He's got stairs from his garage. He's got stairs from his garage that go down to his basement into his workshop, and he's got trains all over the wall in the workshop. Plus the stairs and in some of the walls in his garage, he's got trains on too. So he's got a few trains.
Just a few.
Just a few. Let's see here. So there's another picture of. You can see the intermodal yard down there in the middle. That's the lower level line.
Reefers.
I'm sorry?
I see he's got PFE reefers.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of everything. Now, George, if you look, see the silver bridge, the 3-track silver bridge?
Yes. Yeah.
Right behind that, on the left there, is Black Bridge. That's a Bascal bridge. And that's a post-war Bascal bridge that was painted black. And then over there where the intermodal crane is, the yellow intermodal crane, right to the left of that, that is where that black lift bridge is. It's on your layout. That's where that is at. And that's an operating lift bridge. And that goes across. You can lift that bridge up and kind of get in there a little easier because that's a place to walk back in there by those arch bridges.
Interesting.
So that's been described here as train heaven. Question is, who makes the racks that all of those, or the shelves that all of those trains are sitting on?
You have to help me on that one. Who's the guy that advertises in all the magazines?
Glenn Snyder Rail Racks.
Yeah, Glenn Snyder Rail Racks. And as I've talked to Glenn Snyder before at the train shows out at York, this gentleman, when I told him who I was working for, Glenn Snyder told me that this guy is the largest customer of his. Nobody's bought any more rail racks from Glenn Snyder than this gentleman right here.
Wow. That's dedication right there.
Yeah. So this is where I started working on the controls now. This just gives you a little bit in the very beginning. I built some plywood sections in 2 different parts of the layout. This is one section. This is on the far end of the layout from the control panel. And then there's another section that has another couple TIUs. But this layout has 4 TIUs. We're using a total of, I believe I'm using there's 12, 13, 14. We're using 14 or 15 channels on this layout of DCS on the TIUs. There's 7 power bricks we're using. We have a legacy base and a TMCC base. He basically can run anything he wants on this layout as far as line L or DC or MTH, and he can also run anything in conventional. He's got Williams. He's got everything. And so he wanted to be able to run anything and everything in his collection, and he wanted the layout wired that way. So as you can see, there's some red wire
under the layout too.
Yeah, you can see some of the stuff under the layout he's got everywhere. Now, I just got a call from him the last couple months ago. Back in February, I think it was, we went back there and we installed the TI or the Wi-Fi units on all the TIUs. Now he has the ability to operate all of his trains with a tablet, and he's learning how to use it, and he's just loving it. As you can see, that's just one of the sections. This is one of 2 that we had where we had all these terminal blocks, and so all the wire was traced out. It was figured out where it went. We took out extra drops that we didn't need, and then we ran all the new drops down for the track down into these terminal blocks. The nice thing about Lionel power bricks on big layouts, and anybody that uses them will know this, they have the on-off switch and they got a red reset button on there. But you don't have to go down and physically hit the reset button. All you have to do is cycle power to them and they'll reset automatically. That's the nice thing about these big layouts when you hide these power bricks under the layout is you don't have to go down and reset them. But one of the things I did is I rebuilt his control panels for this job. They were huge. You saw the ones last week. These are quite big too. I did one for his main lines and his whole layout and one for the yard. And what I do on my panels is I build a section where it's got red LEDs on it, and it gives you the power status of your power bricks. So if any one of those power bricks would a trip, it would turn on a red light, and you'd know exactly which power supply tripped. And I've done that on a feature on my dad's layout, and it got out, and everybody loved it. So then I started doing on a lot of the bigger layouts where you use multiple power supplies, and you don't know which one trips when you have a problem. So you got that indicators on the control panel that tells you where to go. And he really liked that feature on this layout. Okay, so that's enough of that layout. So this, I've got just a few pictures. Every year at Christmas time, I like to set up train displays like you guys do. You guys do it through the TCA and different places you guys go. I do it for kids' Christmas parties at my church and at my a local union, and where we have Christmas parties. So every year I'm trying to find something new, and they say, "Can you come do trains?" And I'm like, "Sure, I can come do trains." I says, "How many?
You come do trains. There you go.
How many tables do you need, Jim?" And so I'll work out a track plan on my computer, and I'll figure out how many banquet tables I need, and they'll have them all sitting there ready. And I go in the night before and set up the trains. And the fun for me is to see the little kids watching the trains. This was, I think, the first year I did it. It was just a couple tables, and I like to bring whatever I can find that'll interest the kids. I got a Santa Claus steam engine. Being in construction, I got a house being built there, and I got a bucket truck with the guy hooking up the electric service, and I got an electric power meter car there. This is one of the only steam engines that I own. I'm not a steam engine guy, as well, I wasn't, but that changed recently. But that was basically one of two steam engines I owned. George, I'm going to tell you a little story because I brought it up, but it's all George's fault. But a couple weeks ago, I bought my first big steamer, and because I'm a Burlington guy, Mr. Muffin's Trains had some steam engines on sale, and he had a Burlington. And I just couldn't pass it up, so I ended up buying a Texas-style steam engine in the Burlington paint scheme, and I love it. So, but it's for some other cars that I want to pull because I got all kinds of neat Burlington cars. So there's an overhead look of the train layout. You can see I bought the Norfolk Southern, and I bought the Canadian Pacific holiday train display with all the box cars with the Christmas lights on it. I'm running a CTA train on there, and I'm running a freight system, and I also have a Christmas train on there. I just bring a lot of different things with me so I can run different things. So you can see me down there with the elf hat on, standing there with my tablet running trains. I always got to do Wi-Fi. Anytime I do a train display, I go full technology. I want to show this off because this is what keeps our hobby going. This is how we keep the kids in the hobby, showing these little kids how they can take, their mom and dad's phone or their tablet or whatever, and they can run trains with it. They just love it. And so this is kind of how I promote the hobby in my way. So you can see the train going around there. We got it all set up with, just so the kids can get up there and see it. I just love looking at the kids' eyes. Here's a little guy watching the trains run around. He likes to blow the whistle. So that's my little fun I have every year. I didn't get to do it last year thanks to the pandemic. All right, so this next layout, I got a call from a guy way out in Western Illinois, and he wanted to know if I could build a Lionel dealer layout. And he gave me a whole bunch of different numbers, and I researched them all, and I came back with all these different dealer layouts, and then I didn't hear from him for like a year, and I thought he had lost interest. Then I get a call from him. He says, "When can you build these layouts for me?" And I basically said, "Well, you give me a check, and I'll build a layout for you." So this here is a picture of an original Lionel dealer layout, 131.
That's great.
And this was preserved. I don't know who owns this, but this is a picture from Classic Toy Trains. They have a magazine they put out that's got all the dealer layouts in it, and this one happened to be this particular style. I had a plan for it on my computer already in my software. I have the wiring diagram from Lionel for it, and this is what he wanted to go with. So we gave him a price on that, and he said, "Let's do it." So this one here, you'll notice another guy that's sitting there with us tonight. This is in Jack's basement. You can see Jack back there on the right, and that's his post-war layout on the left there. So I didn't have a place to build any layouts at the time, so Jack volunteered his basement as my shop.
He was chuckling about the comments that his wife was making about you guys building it down there.
Yeah, yeah. I remember. So I got this thing built, and you can see that frame sitting there. This is a 5x9 layout. And when I built the frame, and then we put the top on it, there's the top. It's quite big. I mean, 5x9 is pretty good size. That's sitting on a banquet table. Well, his wife came down in the basement, and she looks at me like, "How are you going to get that out of my basement when you finish it?"
Right.
I says, well, you know, I've already measured it, and from what I understand, it's going to be no problem. But if it doesn't, I have no problem taking your door off and you're taking the wall out to get the layout out. I'm not going to dismantle the layout. So anyway, this is us building the dealer layout. The owner supplied all the track. It was all new tubular track, the O-gauge track. He had one switch in there. He supplied me with all the accessories, and Jack supplied the test trains for it. So there's some of the accessories. You can see that we're going on there. Everything was wired by exactly the same way as Lionel wired it, except for one exception. I took a little liberty in using relays on some of the stuff to make some of this stuff happen, so it worked better. Why is my thing not switching here? There we go. So you can see how we painted the deck. We put the upper level on there. There is, let's see here. There's a picture that shows we're laying all the track out. Now that track on the outside, to the left there, you can see the styrofoam grade. I used a Woodland Scenic styrofoam grade, and I used a piece of real thin masonite for the track board to go up. And so that gives me my grade exactly up the way up and over and down the other way it's supposed to be. Woodland Scenic's foam grade boards are fabulous for building a grade if you don't have anything, you don't have to worry about the underneath. So we've got that, and then we've got, let's see here. So somebody said, you know, I think somebody made a comment last week or somewhere I was looking at, wouldn't it be great if you could turn these layouts over and wire them? Well, that's what we did. We put it up on we turned the banquet table upside down and used the legs to hold it, and we used a topside creeper to hold it up, and I slid around on a chair and wired the whole thing up. Makes it a lot easier than climbing underneath the benchwork. So there's it sitting on its side. You can see Jack's train layout in the background there. So there is all the track is done, all the wiring's done. We got all the accessories where they got to go, so it's all taped up, and I've got the road taped off there. I painted the road a special color, and I taped that up so the road wouldn't get damaged. I taped up all of the places underneath the track because there was no ballast on this. It was just white. We painted the layout white, and then we mask off where the road bed would normally go, and then we put the track on that, and then I mask it all up. When we're done, you'll see at the end when I started putting all the ground foam and all that, it's just white paint, and the masking held it from getting ballasted or any ground foam put on it. So you can see we started putting plaster on the grade going up there. Now those tunnel portals, we had to match them to the picture, so I had to custom cut all those out of wood. So those are all made out of basically pine, glued and screwed together and cut special just so they would fit in those tight spots. We didn't have to paint the back, but you see how we painted into the tunnel portals, we painted it black. So we didn't have that white wood or that light colored wood shining. You want to keep your tunnel portals dark. I can't get there we go. So when I started doing this, I started using the old fashioned way where you bundle up newspapers and you do the paper mache, and then when you're all done, you pull the paper out. And that wasn't working out too well because I'm a fast plasterer. I make my own plaster cloth. I cut up paper towels. I mix up a mixture of hydrocal. I dip them into hydrocal and I start throwing it on there. Well, I go too fast and it got too heavy. Why is my thing not slide? There we go. And so it got so heavy, my paper mache collapsed and my whole mountain was caving in because I was going too fast. So what I did is I started making
What do you mean you were going too fast? Explain that a little bit.
As you can see, the plaster cloth. See the plaster cloth going on over there?
Yep.
When I had the paper mache, the bundles of paper, all that's wet and it's heavy, and it started just sinking in on me because I was putting the plaster on too fast. When I'm doing stuff, I'm in a hurry. I want to go. So I said, this isn't going to work. So I started building a shell out of a lattice work out of corrugated cardboard, and that was a lot sturdier. And then I didn't have to worry about taking the paper wads out afterwards. So I'll tell you a little cool story when I get to the finish here about this mountain.
So before you do, Jack, how much of the layout did you work on here?
When Jim's been around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of the painting. He did all the special wood cutting for me on the piers and the bridge abutments and things like that. He made the bridge abutments underneath here to hold up the bridge in the back. Basically anything that I needed to have him work on when I wasn't there. He did all the green painting. He painted this green around the outside edge. He painted all the top for me. He did a lot of the painting on the layout on the scenic detail.
So that's pretty cool. You guys work as a team a lot of times on some of this stuff, huh?
Oh, yeah.
We do. Me and Jack. Well, that last week I showed you the Lincoln Park Conservatory.
Right.
Jack was very instrumental in helping me out the last couple of years I did that. I can remember days when it was just me and Jack lugging that stuff out of the basement by ourselves to bring it out for the display setup. He helped me there too. He's helped me on a lot of train layouts. So now there's the mountain. You can see the ground foam going on, getting it all scenic out. Basically what I do is, I spray a glue mixture on there and I get it saturated, and then I take and just sprinkle all that ground foam on, and then I use a solution, a matte material that I spray on top of it that locks all that in. And then once I get everything done, come on, there you can see the mountain. This section of the mountain, when we tested this and we took everything off and started testing trains, I had trains hitting that mountain. And I'm like, gosh darn it, I thought this was supposed to work. This is Lionel's plan. And so what I have to do, what you do, Jack says, what are you going to do, Jim? He says, you got the mountains in the way. The trains are hitting it. So I says, go get your hammer, Jack. So he says, what do you mean? I says, just go get your hammer. So he got his hammer and I started bashing the mountain in until it fit.
Oh.
So that has been bashed in a few times, and I replastered it just to make the trains fit. So it's really great. That's one of the things when we say, if you do something wrong, you try it. Don't ever be afraid of doing scenery. Try it. If you don't like it, break it down, fix it, cut it out, change it. You can always change it. That's the beauty of building these train layouts. And it's a way we learn. You learn. I've been doing this for a long time, and I still make mistakes. There's always going to be a situation where something's not going to work, or a train's going to get stuck at a tunnel portal, or it's going to get stuck in a tunnel or something. You just got to fix it, and you can't get upset about it. It's just the fun of doing what we do. So there's the other side. You can see the grade coming down from the other side of the bridge there on the right. All right, so there's the masking tape off. We've got it all highlighted and touched up. You can see now the white underneath the track really makes it accentuate like roadbed, but there's really no roadbed. It's just on the white. It's on the white table, and you can see the road down through there. We had to use a special paint for a road so it looked like a road. I don't have any trains to show on this, and we don't have any videos of it, but we ended up, now you can see all the stuff I put on there. We had to go through, I think that door was, I think it was a 28-inch door, wasn't it, Jack?
No, it's 32.
Oh, is it a 32-inch door?
Yeah,
okay.
Size, whatever that is.
It's not a regular entry door. It wasn't that big. So I had a friend of mine that has some muscles, and when we came over, we had took all the accessories and we unscrewed them and we laid them down and secured them, and we took everything else off that we could take off, and that door fit, I think, with 1/8 of an inch to spare after we took the door off the hinges.
Nice.
So we got it out of the basement, so it did work. So that is a dealer layout reproduction from Lionel. Now, just so everybody knows, the dealer layouts were offered to hobby shops and dealers across the country. And what they would do is they would sell you this layout just like this, with all the track, the accessories, pre-wired. There would be no trains on it, and the dealers could buy this and set them up in their hobby shops, and all they had to do is put their trains on it, and they would run, and they would have all the accessories working, and they could, people could see how it worked. This layout was originally the dealer cost for this layout back in the day when it was, I think it was 1952, was $127, I believe it was the price on this for the dealers.
Jack said he'd make me one for $127. 127 bucks.
So that's quite a deal back in the old days, I think. Don't you think, for all the accessories and everything?
Oh yeah.
So you got your old milk platform there, the milk car. We got the livestock corral there, which we don't have the plate in it, so there's missing a part there. But it had everything in there that was supposed to be. You go back and look at the original picture, even the bushes and everything. We tried to mimic that picture as best we could.
Jim, how many of these dealer layouts have you made? Questions come up.
Well, this was the first and only one that I've done. I proposed to make three of them for this owner total. He has contacted me since I've done this and wanted to know if I could build another one. And I told him, sure, I could do another one. But he's been having medical problems, health problems, and I don't know how he's doing. He lives about 2.5 hours away west of us, out in Osco, Illinois. And nice guy. He's into all kinds of stuff. He collects jute boxes, and he's just a neat guy to see. You go out there and you got all kinds of neat stuff. He's a fireworks manufacturer. He manufactures wholesale fireworks.
No, it's not there.
Where'd you say it was at? Wasco or not Wasco?
Osco, just like Jewel Osco,
Oh, okay.
Illinois. So this was the control panel that was exactly to the specs of the original, but we changed the way the controls were on there. These are all original post-war controls. That bolts on the side of the layout on the front right. So
post-war screws.
no post-war screws. Nope. They're all Phillips. You know, there's not post-war screws when you see Phillips. So he supplied everything. We just built it and delivered it and set it up for him. Okay, so this is our last layout. This is what I call the modular layout. This was the guy that owned the overhead layout down in Chicago that I took down. I had also, in that same house where we had the overhead layout, I told you guys last week, I built a switching layout that was built on the side wall of the room where the trains would go in and go around the air hockey table. That was a long shelf that the carpenter built that you could take and you could lift it up, or you could take it, unhook it, and hang it on the wall. And basically, it was just so he could run switch engines and intermodal cars back and forth through this little switching shelf layout. And it was all done with Wi-Fi, so he could use all the modern controls to do it. And the gentleman that I did this for, he's in the shipping business. He owns a private rail yard that he does all of his own container loading down in Alabama. And so he's a very interesting guy to talk to. He ships parts out of Germany over ships. They go to the rail yards when they hit the coast down in Georgia. They get put on trains. They go to Alabama. He does all the container unloading there, and then they put them on trucks and they ship them down to Mexico for final assembly on BMW and Mercedes cars. And so that's what he does for a business. And so we took down, when he sold that house that had the overhead layout, he said, well, Jim, he'd been talking to me because he had been building a house out in California, and he wanted me to build a layout for him out there. And I'm like, whenever you're ready, let me know. So he contacted me about a year ago and said, Jim, I'm ready to start doing something. He was going to buy a couple car condos out in Monterey by the airport so he could store his some of his fancy cars. But he also wanted one so he could make his playroom again like he had in Chicago, where he had all these trains and his jukebox and all his train. We call it the train room. And so he gave me the parameters. He said, we got to make it modular because this will probably be my last layout. And my son says he doesn't want anything to do with it if it's not easy to take down and move somewhere else. I was like, okay. So we said, we'll make a modular layout. So he gave me a space that I couldn't make the layout any bigger than 15 by 16 foot. So I basically designed a 2-track lower level main line. And I made it so we could take and added an upper level CTA line because he's from Chicago and he likes CTA too. So this is the start of the bench work. I built this in my 3-car garage, and with the idea that once it was finished, we were going to originally put this in a shipping container, and we were going to ship it out to California, and then I was going to fly out there and put it together. And with the pandemic hitting and my my health going to where I couldn't walk very well anymore. That had changed, and we were going to take and put it in a U-Haul truck and drive it out there. And that's what we ended up doing in January. Into January, this got done and put it together in 2 days, and then we drove back. So you can see here there's green tape where all the modules break apart. So there's 6 module pieces that this thing breaks apart in. Where you can see the clamps over there, where the narrow part is over on the left by the garage doors, that is a drop-down lid that you can drop that down and walk into the inside part of the layout. So this is some pictures of he didn't want anything special on the top. He just wanted it painted brown. I asked him, you want it painted brown or green? He says, let's go brown. I said, okay. So we painted it a flat brown, so it looked like dirt. And if you ever wanted to landscape it later, he could. We used all the track that we had from the overhead layout, which was Gargrave's track and Ross switches. You can see back there where the train car, the passenger car is sitting. That's the double crossover in the back of the layout.
And that's Gargrave's track?
That's all Gargrave's track, yep. So let's see here. My slideshow's not, there we go. So this is the start of the yard right here. I made him a 4-track storage yard. So he's got a 2-track main line. He's got a double crossover in the back. He's got a 4-track storage yard for his trains. And then right on the other side of this stack of track there's another track, and that's what we call a rip track. And that originates all the way over on the other side of the layout where my drill's sitting there. There's a switch there, and there's a track that switches off, and it comes all the way around to this side of the layout so we can store a really long train in there. Let's see here. My slides are not, there we go. So there's the 4 tracks that are going to go into the yard. You can see the outside is the 2 outside main line tracks. He's got there's Bridge Boss now. There's Jim Robinson from Bridge Boss. That's his train shed sitting there. That's a double train shed. The owner said, I really, really like those train sheds. And the reason he found out about the train sheds is I told him to go to the website and look up the CTA elevated line stuff that we were talking about earlier and take a look at it. And he says, wow, that's really neat. I found the train sheds. He says, do we have room for the train shed on that layout? And I'm like, well, sure, we can always, let me work on it. Let me see what I can do. So I made it work so we could have 2-section train shed on there for his storage yard. So there's the train shed. Now you can see on the front of the layout, this is the very front part of the layout. I used a 10-inch wide, 1/8-inch masonite hardboard. And I take and I make, there's no corners on this layout. There's no sharp corners. So it's all the fascia is put around everything you see, all the finished sides of the layout. This is going to sit in a building where the two sides of the layout are going to be against the wall. So everywhere else has this fascia that I put on there, so it's seamless. And you can see there's a joint for for modules.
What's the fascia made out of?
That is 1/8-inch masonite hardboard. And it was all painted the same color as the top, but in a gloss. So it was smooth and easy to slide against. There's a better picture of the fascia you can see. So the whole idea is this was going to have the fascia coming down, and then we were going to make black skirting, just like you would see at a convention. At a convention table, I made pleated black skirting that would go underneath the layout. That was all Velcroed on underneath, and you'll see the finished product of that. So now what I did on this, you can see this is where the drop-down lid's going to be. This is where the train will have a lid there, and it'll drop down. So you can see that stack right there in the middle with all that Bridge Boss stuff sitting there. I've got stacks of boxes of that roadbed, George. You just bought that roadbed. I've got 6 boxes of that Woodland Scenics foam roadbed sitting there. And there's also a loop of track, and you guys saw that in Stan Ledwikowski's layout. There's a loop of super streets going around there. So what we did is we designed it because the CTA train was going to come around the top. So I designed the CTA train to go partly over some of that streets. And he had some existing buildings that were custom-made buildings from where he used to live in Chicago that he was going to put in there. So we've got that. You'll see in some pictures. Now, see that switch over there by my red drill? You can see there's a switch right here. That comes off the main line, and that's the one that goes all the way around to where that track is stacked up on the other side. So that's one great big long storage track. He has some cars that are 21-inch cars. He owns the Orient Express train, and it's got all the French sounds on it. It's really a cool train. The steam engine and all the cars, it's gorgeous. And I wanted to make sure he could run that on this layout and store it. So there's the double crossover in the back. Basically, when I build a layout, I have a track plan, and it's all generated by the computer. It tells me how many parts I need. how many pieces of this track, everything I need. So that makes it easier for my ordering. But you can see once I painted the top deck of this layout, then I lay all the track down and I get all the track laid out where it's got to go. And then once I get the track laid out, it's all pieced together, it's all cut. I get all the right joiners in place and it's all screwed down. Then I take it back up and I slide the cork roadbed underneath the track. And then I screw it back down. I don't glue it or nothing. I just screw the track down and you just snug it down real carefully so you don't break any of the ties. And it works out really well. This layout, he wanted to have the track ballasted. And you'll see some pictures when we go down here of the ballasted track. I did ballast all the track on this. So there's a close-up of the train shed.
Jim, what do you use for ballast?
Pretty much anything I can find that looks good. I mean, I've used a lot of stuff. Jack, I think you used cat litter, floor absorb. We've used granules from roof shingles. You know, there's all kinds of stuff you can use. Whatever looks good. You just got to remember the pros and cons of some of the stuff you use. I know guys that put sand on their track, and then because ballast, when you buy commercial ballast from a lot of these places, it's expensive and it's heavy, and you got to pay the shipping. So they go to their local hardware store and they buy a big bag of sand and they put sand in, and then the top coat they put the gravel they want it to look like, and then they lock it in that way. I used the foam road bed, and I just used the product that I got was from Scenic Express.
Jack says that the cat litter works really good. It looks really nice until the cats start peeing on it.
Well, you got to remember about cat litter. Cat litter is very absorbent. That's the nature of cat litter. So whatever you're using to take and lock the cat litter down, it takes a lot of, you know, so you got to be careful with some of the stuff you use because it's made to absorb, you know. But, you know, you could pretty much use anything you want as long as you can work with it. Me and Jack were working on a project years ago. I'm into modern trains. My own private collection is I like coal trains. So we were taking all my coal cars and taking the plastic loads out of them, and I was making custom cut wood blanks to put in there. And we were going to take and use black granules from roof shingles. Jack used to know somebody in the roofing distributing business, and he would be able to get the granules in any color I wanted. And I said, well, get jet black. And so we were going to use jet black and redo all my coal loads on my coal cars so it was real fine looking coal. That's a project we never finished because I was always working on somebody else's train layouts. So
Heath says he likes to do indoor weathering.
Yeah.
Copyright GFW Trains.
Yeah, there you go.
Heath,
So anyway,
I ordered another T-Track module. The Empire has started.
Yeah, there you go. You got 2 of those, right?
Yes, this will be my second, yeah.
Okay. So right here you can see now we got the track on the foam road bed. All the tracks are in place. And if you look at that train shed now, it's not just sitting there anymore. It's got special clips. Those were 3D printed clips, so you could take and lock the train shed in there. See how I made those custom made clips for the train shed to hold on. And so I can screw those down. And then the lighting, there's lighting inside this train shed, which is made by Woodland Scenics, the Just Plug line of lighting, LED lighting. And there's a better picture of the clips, and you can see some of the wires going down behind.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I really like that train shed. That's another one we're considering putting on the GFW Trains layout here with the Worldwide Empire.
There you go. So the train shed is still removable, but it doesn't sit there loose anymore because of these clips. So they're real snug fit. So they hold on pretty good. All right, so now we've started working on designing the upper level, and I have a basic framework plan. But when you do something like this, you really can't tell exactly how everything's going to fit until you test fit everything. So you got to get your lower level done, and then you got to start test fitting. The track that goes up on that upper line was all Atlas track, and I use Atlas track because it's real strong and rigid, and I wanted it solid. I don't know if I would do that again, but Atlas track is a real good track, and it looks good for show. That's why I use it on top. So this is what it looks like unpainted. I started laying all this out. This is after I built them all. It comes in all pieces, and you have to glue all those pieces together. And then once you get them all glued together, then you've got different sections for different radiuses. We did this as an 045 radius, I think. So you can see the pieces going up, and I got pieces sitting all over the place. And it was a long, long process. You can see it going across the back over there behind my fan. There's a look underneath of it. You can see how it all looks. And I was just placing them and just trying to get it all laid out so I knew exactly, because I got a train car underneath there, and you got to run the train car back and forth to make sure none of those piers are hit. And you got to test everything. The biggest train cars you got, the biggest engines, you got to test them to make sure none of those piers are hit. On curves, those columns got to be about 3 inches away from the center of the track.
Oh, really? Don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, on the straightaway down there, you can see the straightaway on this layout. You can have them right on the edge of the foam. And it looks like a train won't clear it. It looks that tight, but everything goes through just fine. So there's what the train shed looks like unpainted. Now underneath there, you can see there's plexiglass that is laser cut plexiglass. He's got the etchings in it. We bought the roof panels. The roof panels are made out of plexiglass, and you can buy the arches at the end of those train sheds. They're arches, and you can buy panels to go in there so you can see the glass panels coming down on the arches too. And he wanted that option also. We used, like I say, we used Ross custom switches, and we used DZ1000 from Z Stuff for the switch machines, which are usually on Ross switches. The upper line, I had to take the Atlas solenoid motors off the Atlas switches, and I put Z1000 motors up there also. I really like these because they're very easy to use. They don't burn out, and they're just great to wire. Okay, so now this, the elevated line, you got to have little station stops for your CTA train. So I was making 3 different platforms that had a little platform that have people on it. MTH makes a little platform station that you hit a button and the people are sitting on the bench, and the solenoid pops the people up, and then it looks like the train has picked them up. And then when the people are down, the train is supposed to stop. And so I wanted to make stairs and columns to get from the lower level up to the station platforms. So these were all 3D printed on my printer and glued together and made as the stairs to go up to the upper line. There's some of the railings that I made. And here's a picture of a completed staircase going up to a pier, and you can see how it gets up to the pier. And as you guys, we talked last week, somebody asked a question, do you use Arduino or Raspberry Pis? I got a stack of Raspberry Pis I use for projects here. There's about 3 or 4 of them sitting there.
Are they edible?
Well, I guess if you can figure out how to, you can, George, you can put anything you want in your mouth, but I think you're old enough to know better.
So what do you use the Raspberry Pis for?
Those Raspberry Pis I was using for my 3D printer. I'm using a Raspberry Pi for running my 3D printer, so eventually I can take and put a camera on it. And then when I go away, because when you 3D print things, 3D prints usually take a long time if they're big, complicated projects. It can take hours and hours and hours, and I don't like to sit here in my office and wait for them to finish printing. So what we do is I tie them into my network. I put a Raspberry Pi tied into my network, and then I hook a camera into my Raspberry Pi. I mount it on my 3D printer, and then through the software I use, I can take and watch my 3D print on my phone when I'm away. And if I want to turn off the power to my 3D printer when it's done, so it's not running while I'm gone, I can use my smartphone, and I can shut off my 3D printer from remote location. So those are just kind of the gadgetry things I like to work on. All right, so now you can see here on this picture, we've got the CTA track elevations put up. You can see that we painted it in the canary yellow. If you guys remember the picture from my background last week, that was a picture I used to determine what color he wanted to paint the CTA. Now, if you guys keep in mind, this stuff comes in a brown. Before it's painted, it's a brown. Just like kind of like the benchwork is right now. It's brown. So when you paint it with a yellow and you don't paint it really good, some of that brown starts showing through and it makes it look like rust. So it was really easy to make this look like, a close-up look at this. You can see it's not a perfect paint job, and you can see like rust coming through where the brown wasn't painted right. So there's the I think that was the night before I did an open house. We tested all the track that night. We got everything running. You can see the super streets down there ready to go. We put signals on there. We've got all kinds of signals. You can see some of the stations up there. There's one station up there with the stairs going up to it. You can see the lid dropping down. Now, if you guys see that little silver Maersk container sitting there, that 20-foot container sitting on the bench, that's sitting there for a reason. There's a little limit switch on the lid that's dropped down. You can see a little metal clip on that lid, on the benchwork, the lid that drops down. Well, when you lift that up, it hits a limit switch. What happens is when you open a door on a layout like that, and you got trains running. You guys know this from the probably from the modular group. If you have a way where you could open the track and you got trains running, there's a chance those trains are going to go on the floor, right?
Oh, we know that from our layout.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you've got a couple lids on your layout too. Well, what we did is so we wouldn't have a problem. This layout wasn't big enough to just make it go back so far. So basically, that limit switch kills the power to both of those tracks. So you don't run it. So there's no chance of him, because what he likes to do is entertain. So he'll get his trains running around there, and he'll just for fun when he's entertaining people and whatever they're doing. And then if you open that lid and you're not concentrating, the trains go on the floor. And so we didn't want that to happen. So we put a safety switch on there. You can see on the other side of the layout over there underneath, I got a little shelf for all the controls. And I've got a TIU, AIU. We've got, I think there's 5 power bricks over there. There's a Wi-Fi module. And I've got a couple special relays I use. And that thing that's on the side of the post is the control switch that makes the people go up and down in the train stop there. So there you can see the silver passenger car sitting on that long rip track that goes from the one side of the layout to the other. Okay, so now this is in California. The layout made it out there, as you can see. We packaged it all up. We take as little apart as possible. We took all the accessories and the signals and all the loose buildings, whatever was on there, we took those off and packaged them up. Anything that could stay, like the train shed and the upper line, the only thing that came apart is I made track sections that would actually take and pull the track sections off where there was a joint for the module. And we don't rely on the track sections over each module joint to run current through. There's jumpers, and we made special labeled jumpers between each module. So anybody can take it apart and then put it back together and plug it in the exact same way it was, because everything is well marked underneath. So anybody that takes it apart the next time will know exactly how to do it. Take it down, move it, put it back together, and plug it all back in, and it's ready to go. The track just plugs right back in the top. The top is all modular, so it all comes apart. I made special clips for the elevated piers. Another thing I made on the 3D printer was the little clips that I could slide the piers into the clips so it hold them down better. So everything's modular. Everything can come apart on this layout. This is my son. My youngest son has helped me. He drove out to California with me to help put it together. This is in a, what I said, this is in a car condo, and there's a loft. When you rent a car condo, it's real high ceiling, like a garage where you can work on your cars. And on the back of these car condos, there's a set of stairs that goes up to a nice metal loft up there, and it's a living space. And he's got it really set up nice up there. So I was up on the loft taking pictures down on the layout, so you can see the buildings that are in here. He's got some buildings that he had custom made. You can see the station with the stairs going down. And there's another part of the layout on the other side. Wow. So this is the finished product after we got everything hooked back together, turned on, tested, all painted up and ready to go. You can see the black skirting on this layout, and you can see the stairs behind there going up to the loft. And there's the finished product right there sitting in the car condo.
Wow.
So
That looks great.
The owner was very happy. He was very excited. I love to deliver jobs when the owner's happy. I've done layouts for him before, and he likes what I do, and he's a really nice guy to work for. He knows what he wants. He makes decisions, and it's really easy to work with him. But you can see how the fascia is all the way around the inside and the outside, and so everything's removable. Everything's easy to work on there. So anyway, I believe that is the last picture. I have pictures of the rail car and I don't know if we want to have time to do that or not, but that's all the layouts I have, guys. There's a lot more layouts I've worked on. You got to remember, a lot of the layouts I worked on too, working for private owners, they don't like me to take pictures of the layouts. So a lot of these layouts, if they don't want pictures taken of them, I can't take pictures. So there's a lot of them I can't, share with people because they're private. But I've worked on a lot of train layouts. I got to say, probably what you've seen in the last 2 weeks is probably about a sixth of the layouts I've worked on in my 12 years doing this. So, and then that doesn't count the service calls. I used to do service calls for some of the hobby shops and go out and fix things and fix problems for people. So, but
So
at any rate,
Jim, if somebody were to reach out to you, how would they reach you?
well, did you put up my link to my website like you did last week?
I did. It's down below.
Okay. So if they go to that and if they go to chugman6.wordpress.com, that will show a little bit. I mean, it's not a real fancy website because I'm not real fancy when it comes to that stuff. I didn't have a lot of time to build a fancy website because I'm pretty much a one-man show. But what it is they go to that website and they can pull that up and they'll get my phone number and my email address. And they can get a hold of me that way. If they call me, please leave a message because a lot of times I don't answer if I don't know who it is, especially in this day and age with all the scammers going on. But just leave me a message and I will definitely get back to them and I will call them back.
You got a lot of Nigerian princes calling you.
No, it's car warranties, George.
Oh, car warranties.
Car warranties. Actually, I think I had somebody called me from saying I had my Amazon account. Where there was a problem with my Amazon account and I needed to do something, and I'm like, I don't even have an Amazon account, so.
They're going for $400.
Yeah, send me $400,
Yeah.
for this Amazon, and it'll take care of it or something. And then you get the ones from the IRS, the IRS scams going on all the time too. So that's why I usually don't answer my phone, but please leave a message, leave me a voicemail. I'll definitely call you back. I know there's a lot of guys that have a lot of questions, a lot of things, and I have no problem answering and talking to anybody that wants to talk. When I'm up here in my office, I'm in my office right now. It looks like I'm in a train car, but I'm in my office right now. And where I do all my computer work, and behind me is where all my 3D printers and all my equipment are on tables. And that's why I've got this digital screen up. I've got a blue screen set up behind me, and I look like I'm sitting in the train car. But I don't want everybody to see all my mess usually. But at any rate, I'm usually, with my disability right now, I can't do a lot of walking, but I'm usually sitting in my office working, and I can take phone calls. I get phone calls from my existing customers still to this day. They'll call me up. I had a customer call me up 3 weeks ago and says, Jim, I cannot run my trains. What is the password for the Wi-Fi? So no problem. Give them to him. And he says, thanks a lot. And off he goes, so usually most of the problems, I can solve real quick. If there's a problem with some of these guys, I've done so much of this. I can talk people through most all the different issues they have with hiring.
One time.
So George, I got a question for you, George.
Oh, what's up?
So last week, before last week, I said, come up with a question. Did you come up with any questions they asked me?
Do I have a question for you?
I bet you do.
All right. So you're not a steam engine guy, right? Is this supposed to stump you?
Well, what I told you is be like Jay Leno, like we used to do the interviews on Jay Leno, and they go out on the street outside the studio and they'd ask people simple questions, and most people couldn't answer them, and that made it so funny. I said, give me a Jay Leno question, something that I can probably hopefully answer.
All right. I got you.
Now, remember, I'm an electrician, George, so remember that. I can answer electrical questions pretty easy.
How many wheels are on a 6-axle locomotive?
12.
Oh, man. All right. I got to think of some
Okay,
other
George, so on that, how many axles in an 18-wheeler?
9.
Nope.
Oh, George went to Yorkville.
Oh, shoot.
Yorkville
Hold on,
education.
got to think about this one.
You better think about it, George.
There's
You know what I'm talking about, right? An 18-wheeler truck,
yeah.
a semi-truck.
There's 6 axles.
Well, if you can count the trailer, an 18-wheeler.
So then, what would it be?
I have no idea.
Sure. So say what? I'm sorry. What? I asked you the question. How many axles in an 18-wheeler, right?
Yeah.
So there would be
2.
How many did you say?
3. There'd be 3.
No, there's.
Does it include the tractor?
5?
Yeah, there's 5. 18 wheels. Count them. 18 wheels.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
You know why they call it an 18-wheeler? Because there's 2 wheels on both sides of each axle, except for the 2 front tires.
Oh, the dually. Okay, yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
All right, so try another one. One more time. Try another one on me.
All right.
Jack, you got a stumper for him.
Oh, Jack's always got a stumper for me.
Why do they call them apartments when they're all stuck together?
Oh
I was just wondering.
my gosh, I can't believe it. See, now that's the kind of questions. That's the kind of questions, George. That's the kind of questions that gets me.
I'm just wondering.
Why do they call an open car door ajar?
That's another good question.
I don't know what jars.
Oh, here's another. This is a hot topic here. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No, it's a hot dog.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah, that's a point of conversation on many lives.
I think it basically determines if it's in a bun or not first. If it's hot dog, no, it's not a sandwich.
That's what I say. It's a hot dog. It's not a sandwich.
Right.
There's a lot of those people out east that say a hot dog's a sandwich.
No, because they have certain buns for hot dogs.
Oh, right. Special buns.
That's right. If you've ever tried to make a PB&J with the hot dog bun, recommend. It's pretty good.
It is.
It's like eating a peanut butter and jelly hot dog, just without
I know.
the dog part.
Yep. Hey, this just actually goes right to the core. We talk about anything, but mostly trains.
Right.
That's what I like about you guys. You keep it loose.
Yes, sir.
Angel says a concert with 50 Cent featuring Nickelback. And a Nickelback.
Yes.
I kind of remember Nickelback. Are they still around?
I don't know.
They got their money back.
Yeah.
They got the money.
So they got their nickel back. There you go.
There you
So,
go.
hey, how many layouts have you and Jack worked on together?
Oh boy. I don't know. You'd have to ask Jack that question because he would remember more than I would.
I would say at least 10.
About 10 layouts, huh?
At least 10. Yeah, at least. You know, and if you count his layout, we have helped him on his layout too. So.
Well, that's constant.
So, hey, do you still have the pictures of his layout on your
I do. Yeah. Do you want to go back to that?
Yeah, let's go back through some of those. We can get some commentary right here from Jack.
All right. Let's see if I can get this thing back. Give me a second. It's going to have to take and load the slides here, but I will go back.
Good thing from Dallas is chicken grit.
Yes, chicken grit. I've heard that one. Chicken grit for ballast.
Right.
I've also used walnut shells. You ever heard of walnut shells? Crushed walnut shells.
Yeah.
You used to buy it at the pet store. Use them in lizard cages.
Right.
Really?
Yes.
Yep. I still got a ton of it in my shop.
Alrighty.
Pulling up those pictures. So, hey, for those of you that weren't here with us last week, Jack is a post-war guy. That's your bread and butter, isn't it, Jack? And he's got the most beautiful post-war layout that you've ever seen. Well, where'd you get the ideas for for your layout? Is that something that you?
I just thought of it.
Yeah. Now, were you in the trains as a kid growing up? And this
is a seasonal train around the Christmas tree.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
Then I met a friend that worked down in Chicago, and we used to commute back and forth. And he was in trains, and he says, "Have you ever gone out to DuPage?" And I says, "What the hell is DuPage?"
Right. That's what I'm sure what a lot of people are thinking right now. What's DuPage?
Yeah. So that's a monthly train show. So I said, "Well, you want to come out with me?" So I went out with him and went into the building there. Oh, what have I been missing? And at that particular time, now this was in the early 80s, and a lot of this newfangled equipment was not there.
Right. It was Lionel at that point was making.
Was it. Lionel, maybe Marks, American Flyer. But that was it. And so I got one car that was a old gauge car. I don't ask me the car. Anyways, I built up from there.
All right.
My original layout was like on a piece of plywood, 8x4.
Mhm.
Then he expanded it to two 8x4s.
Right,
And
right.
then he expanded it. And then you got to know people like yourself and Jim. And Jim comes out and says, "Oh, you got to do this."
Right, right on.
Okay. So now what was started out as a 8x4 is now a 23x12 layout.
And I tell you what, it's scenic awesome. Now, did you did most of that scenic yourself, right? Where'd you learn how to do that?
I just trial and error.
Really?
Yeah.
No
If I don't-
kidding.
as Jim says, you try something. If you don't like it, get rid of it.
Get rid of it, huh? And did you read magazines to do that, or?
Yes, there was a scenic magazine way out. And this was, I think, first publication was maybe in the 60s.
Okay, okay.
And there was a lot of good ideas in that magazine, which I expanded on.
Cool, cool. So, Jim, were you able to pull up any of those pictures of the layout there?
Yeah, I got his pictures here, just so you know now too, because like I said last week, Jack, there's other places to look at this layout. Jack was featured in a special magazine article by Classic Toy Trains called "Best Toy Train Layouts."
Yeah. It was a
Roger
special magazine issue,
And
right?
we also did an article back in 2012 that was in O-Gauge Railroading Magazine, OGR. That was run 257, June, July of 2012. We did an article on his special switch covers, how he covered all his Lionel switch machines up. And so he
Right,
was
right.
featured in the back of the magazine on that. And then he was also in 21st Century Great Train Layouts #1, that same one I keep talking about. There's 3 layouts out of the 4 layouts in that video that we had something to do with. So Jack is also featured in a 21st Century Great Train Layouts by TM Videos. So he is what we call a movie star in the train world as far as train layouts, because he's been in magazine articles and he's been on video, and now we get to see him.
Train layout influencer. He's a train layout influencer.
Just to show you, now he's in the GFW Worldwide Studios. I
The
mean,
Worldwide Studios here. Look at that.
you have arrived, Jack. You have arrived.
Right. Broadcasting across the globe this evening.
Yep. He
Jack
just doesn't know how
Phelan,
big he
Jim
is.
Williams, and GFW Trains.
Can't beat it.
Like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You're
It's
right.
a good thing. Bread, jelly, and peanut butter.
Peanut
All right.
butter-
So, is there any particular picture you want to?
Oh,
Was there a particular picture you were looking for, Wally?
Say again?
Is there a particular picture you're looking for?
No. Just kind of go through some of those pictures. I thought since Jack was here, it might be fun to look through some of those pictures with him.
Okay. So if you look at that picture right there, Jack, you know what? I was remembering a little story about Jack. Does people in Chicago, you guys in Chicago, remember a furniture store called Walter E. Smith Furniture? You guys have heard of that, right, Wally?
Yeah, sure.
Walter E. Smith, the original Walter Smith. His sons took over the business, but Walter, the older gentleman that started the business, he's a big train guy. And we found out because we ran into him down at the Chicagoland Park District, or at the Chicago Park District for the Lincoln Park Conservatory. The very first year we set it up, when we were cleaning all the tracks, a guy walked up behind us and introduced himself as Walt. And he says,
That's cool.
He says, "Hi, I'm Walt. I was told to come over here and work for you guys to clean track." Walter E. Smith is a big supporter of the Lincoln Park Conservatory. He's a benefactor, and he was cleaning track for us there the first year. And him and Jack got to talking, and him and Jack used to shop at the same hobby shop or same hardware store in the city of Chicago to buy trains when they were kids.
What it was that he owned the furniture store next to the hobby shop that I used.
Is that what it was?
And he also had trains running in his store.
Okay.
And, because that was too high class for me, so I stayed at the hobby shop.
Yeah. So, Jim, we're not getting the picture screen up here. I think you got to.
Oh, did it go away?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I had it up there. I don't know what happened to it. Let's see here. How's that?
There we go. Hold on. Yep, we got it here.
Okay. So I don't know where it was when it took off here, but there's the trolley line. That's the upper line.
So, all right, stop with this one here.
This one right
Go
here.
back. No, the other one. The other one, they had that yet. So this is a classic picture of your layout, I think, because it's got 3 really cool classic post-war pieces. Jack, why don't you tell us a little bit about those pieces there?
Okay. The one to the left is everybody's Santa Fe chief. That's normal. Then the middle one is the Virginian FM. Everyone has to have one of those.
Yeah, the train masters are cool pieces, huh?
Okay, then the one to the far right is my favorite, is the Canadian Pacific.
And that's a beauty. That is one of the hardest trains to get.
And it was only manufactured in 57.
And it's probably one of the most desirable post-war Lionel pieces, isn't it?
I don't know that, but it was most desirable for me.
Yeah.
And to tell you a little bit more about that layout, where the Virginians going over that bridge, I made that bridge.
Really? The wooden bridge there?
The wooden bridge. And everything has to be lined up. Where the middle blinking bridge is, or to the right of the Virginian. I used to have a bridge down there, several bridges, same thing, but it was made by Marx.
Oh, okay. So you had to take that out and put Lionel.
And the guy said that, that's a Marx one. And I says, it's a what? I said, that doesn't belong on my layout. So I ripped that out, gave him the bridge, and then I found that bridge. I think it's a 115 or something with blinking light.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Now, why is it that you only like Lionel on your layout?
Is there something else?
I know it. Perfect. Jim said that you would say that.
Boy, do I know him or what, huh?
Jim said you were going to say that last week.
Well, for a long time there, I didn't oppose MTH, but it was my competition.
Right.
Okay. And that was after everybody, and Jim knows this, I wanted to get one of MTH logos from one of their boxes. And I was going to put that on the wall going down to my train layout. But on that decal, I was going to put a red line through it.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So how about scoot through a couple more pictures here there, Jim? So there's that beautiful, is that a 2322? I think that's.
I don't know which one.
Okay. Oh, yeah. And then the Santa Fe F3s.
You gotta love the war bonnet. That's a classic, isn't it?
Right.
There's a 773.
All right, the Hudson there. And then tell us a little bit about the scene there with the Northern Pacific.
Oh, the Northern Pacific, what I have out there is a display track. And I put the engines, all my engines work. So that engine in Northern Pacific does work.
Oh, it does, yeah?
Oh, yeah, everything works. And so I just put that there to just show it off. And then, like, the fence around there, I made that fence. And the big deal. Everyone says, oh, I don't think it's a big deal. Then I got a lot of those heralds from different rail lines. And I just said, I had to do something with these. So I said, why not? I just put them on the fence.
That's cool. That's a neat look.
For Jack, how did you make all those? How did you make all those little heralds?
What I would do is go into a train magazine, and then in an advertisement or something, I would see one of the heralds.
And cut it out.
No, I would put it in my copying machine.
Okay.
I can enlarge it and make it smaller. So I got it to my size, and I cut it out.
That's great. That's great. And North Country Trains just put out a really cool YouTube video on making a chain link fence like that. That chain link fence looks sharp. How'd you make yours?
It's out of you buy wiring that is 1/8 inch square.
Okay.
It's very difficult to find. You almost have to order it separately, and then you just take a post, put a pole down at the top, and roll the wire around it.
Now,
It's very simple.
yeah, yeah. Now you've got a bunch of accessories on there. How many accessories do you have on the layout? Do you know?
Somewhere about I should know it by heart. It's over 50.
Wow, wow.
I got a question for you, Jack.
Include switches.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jack, what's the ballast you have on the track here?
Okay, right there. That is, what do you call it? It absorbs oil.
Oil dry?
Oil
That's
dry.
it. And that comes, it all depends where you buy it. It comes in different colors.
And that's pretty inexpensive, huh?
That's expensive, 100, what is it, 50 pounds for a little less than $5?
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, you better believe it is.
For sure. All right, let's see. Did you had one of the control panel, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
There's that Canadian Pacific. That's
This is the one
that's a cool
Jim,
picture.
Yeah, Jim and I.
This is one of my favorite pictures of Jack's layout.
Jim is sleeping down there and I'm barking at him.
He works me to death. I'm telling you, he works me to death.
Okay, now there's I think that ballast there is chicken grit.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So there's your jail. I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
see
right.
that. I didn't see that one in Classic Toy Trains.
No, because they don't have jails or outhouses.
No jails and no outhouses in Classic Toy Trains. So tell us a little bit about this jail, Jack.
Okay, I had a space there in the layout that I used mainly to get up into the middle of my layout to clean my track. And I said, this is looking ugly. Something has to be done. So I'm going around and I don't know if it was Jim or who it was, but that should be a jail. And so I expanded on that, that the jail would be connected with a yard, a jail yard. So I just built one on the other. So this is the front of it. It's the courtyard, and not the courtyard, the courtrooms and everything.
Right.
Yeah, we can't, I don't know. Can we show outhouses and prisons on GFW Worldwide Studio?
We're a really low class program around here, so
Well, we had to be careful. We weren't sure.
We encourage not only scenes that are courthouse and outhouse scenes, we also encourage really bad jokes. And today is the funniest day that we have had here on GFW Trains in a long time.
See, Western Ohio Interurban History we put people who say model trains are just toys in jail.
Yeah, I saw that. All right, so there's the control panel.
Oh yeah, look at that one. Now you made that one, Jack?
What the hell with Jim?
Okay.
No, Jack, you built the control panel. You built the control panel, and I wired it.
Yeah, but we also expanded on it. You had just some thoughts on putting the
Circuit breakers in.
circuit breakers, right?
Yeah, we put the circuit breakers in. I told you guys last week if you look at that panel on both the upper left and upper right corner, there's like a little rectangle. It's the same kind of fuses you get on your train layout there, Wally, with those magnetic or those thermal circuit breakers.
Right.
And I put them in there, and I guess Jack didn't understand that I had put them in, and he gives me a call one day. And he says, "Jim, my train quit running. What do I do?" And I'm like, "Oh, look at your control panel and see if any of those circuit breakers are popped out." And he's like, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." And so I had to basically tell him exactly where on the control panel they were. And he's like, "Oh, you mean this thing here?" I says, "Yeah, push it in." He pushes it in. I says, "Are your trains running?" He said, "Yep, they're running again." So there's a lot of stuff we did to that. There's how many transformers you got underneath, Jack?
Oh, we got three.
You got how many Z's you got?
Three.
There's three Z's down there. And then we have
Then we have two upstairs.
We got a 16-volt AC transformer for other accessories underneath. for some of the electronic stuff. And then you got the 2 ZWs on top. So,
Right.
and then as of what was it, 2 days ago when I came over there, Jack, I brought over my new steam engine that George made me buy, and I took and put my my new Texas steam engine on his layout, and I ran it from the front of the layout through the mountain and over to the tunnel portal to the right where that Santa Fe is, and it ran into the tunnel portal, so it didn't make it around. But I can run it in conventional. I can also run, Jack can run everything on his layout with TMCC, Legacy, or DCS. If we, I've got ports on his layout where I can unplug the jumper ports, and I can plug in the different control systems and run different things on run sessions. And we go over to play trains at Jack's house. So if you bring over your control sets and your engine and you want to run it in command control, Jack, you can run on the outer line, the 072 outside line. You can run command control on Jack's post-war layout.
It's a BYO DCS system, though, right?
That's it. Yep. Bring your own. Bring your own. And how many people can say that on their post-war train layout? Everything works, and you can run command control on it, huh?
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, hey, listen, guys, we're getting close to the end of. Oh, God, I love that one with the general and the anniversary set. Those are two neat pieces right there.
Yeah, that's coming out of the train station there.
Oh, the waterfall. Let's hit that waterfall.
Everybody loves that waterfall.
Oh, that is.
And I don't think it is so good.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
And I mean that
the bridge also. Too. That's a neat picture right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's got a really great train layout. So anybody out there watching, I know if Jason is watching, Jason, when you come to Chicago, if you ever come to Chicago and you want to see train layouts, this is one of the train layouts we would take you to see. We know you like scale and high rail and all that, but I used to be that way too until I saw Jack's layout, and it just makes you appreciate the diversity of what we have in this hobby. There's not just scale trains, there's not just toy trains, there's everything in between. And that's Jack's is the classic example of that. It's just so much fun to look at his train layout, and you know how many friends we've made getting together. It's just a great hobby and a great fellowship of all the things we've gotten together and done over the years with these guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so let me see. So we're done with the slideshow, right, Wally?
Yeah. And you know what? We're getting closer to the end of the program. We've been on for about 2.5 hours, and I'd like to thank you, Jack, for coming on. It was a great time here with you this evening. And Jim, always good to have you around and talking trains, and I can't wait to have you back sometime soon, hopefully, to talk about your rail cars. That'll be a real neat program just to learn about that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, like I said, we have an announcement coming up. The owner of the car has an announcement coming up, hopefully in another month or so. And if I can get that, we can get it all lined up in the announcement of what's going to happen with our rail car. We'll kind of do a little show on that. And if I can get the owner of the car to come on, maybe we can do him on too, because he's a total historian when it comes to Burlington and passenger cars. He's been in the business. He used to work for the railroad. He used to work for Amtrak. He used to work for Burlington, you know, and he lives just north of us up in St. Charles, and great guy. Today is his birthday, actually. The guy's birthday is today. He's 74 years old.
Wow. Oh, how cool is that? Youngster. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to close out the show here with this, and I always make this speech. And George and I have a really, really good time doing these streams, don't we, George?
Sir.
We started doing these streams about a year ago, and we did it because we were locked in the house and wanted to do something and share our love of trains. And it's been really cool because not only did we start to do this, but we started to network and make a bunch of friends in this hobby. All of you guys that are here with us tonight are our train friends, our train family, GFW Trains Nation, and what I want to make sure that everybody does is continue this synergy that we've got. It's been really cool and a really neat vibe that has kind of bubbled up and has happened, hasn't it, George?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's really cool feeling, that's for sure.
Met lots of neat friends and everything like that. So please, everybody, we've got some really neat creators on here. We've got some really neat YouTube channels. please, let's support each other. It's very important that we do that. Encourage each other, network, keep this chat going. It's been really fun to watch this chat tonight. We've had a lot of levity. We've had a lot of talk about trains. We've had a lot of George yawning about trains.
I gotta say, Wally, I did go after last week's show. I did go through all the comments on last week's stream, and I looked at everybody I could find, and I looked at all their channels. I looked at all their YouTube stuff. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun going back there.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that cool?
Just bring them up and go through everything. It was so much fun looking at everybody's stuff.
Yeah. So I really enjoy it, and thank you everybody for coming and hanging out with us on these Fast Fridays. We've had a great time with you. We're going to have another really cool show with a really cool special guest that we're going to get lined up for next week. We've got a couple of lines out on that, but we're hoping. I've made some initial contacts with him, but hopefully we're going to get Chris from RBP Trains on next week and get him on the show. If not next week, we're going to get him on in the near future. So that should be a lot of fun. But anyway, George, it's been a great time. Jack, it's been a great time. All right. And everybody, we'll see you around the roundhouse.
Don't let the caboose hit you on the way out.
Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Friday. Keep an eye out for George's video that's coming out tomorrow morning. He's going to shoot that out. It's his feelings about
the MTH and Atlas, or Atlas binds the MTH premiere tour.
That Friday, is that lunch?
No, well, Friday may be a lunch for us, but next Friday is when we're going to be on GFW Trains again. Okay. Yep. So, all right, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
See you later.
Hopefully, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Remember CCA.